What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the showcase stream for our second Smite 2 Alpha Weekend. That's going to be kicking off tomorrow, May 30th. My name's Isaiah. I'm going to be walking everybody through what you all can expect when servers go live tomorrow. And I'm joined by AJ from the design team. But it's not just us. We got the rest of the design crew from Smite 2 joining us as well. Clumsy, Aggro, and Pon. How's everybody doing today?
Good.
We're doing great. All three of us over here. Pon included.
Yep.
Oh, I love it. Well, I'm super excited to go over Smite 2, what people can expect tomorrow. I know you all have been cooking a lot of stuff. We got a lot of great feedback from Alpha Weekend 1.
AKA the A team.
Speaking of Alpha Weekend 1, we did it. Like, how's everybody feeling, right?
Yeah. It was awesome. It was really exciting to be able to like turn on Twitch and watch people play Smite 2 and not be like, what is happening? You know, it was a little odd in that way, but the feedback we got was excellent, and you know, the reception was really, really positive, and we were happy to see that people were excited, just as excited as we are for this future of Smite 2.
Yeah, we want to thank everybody for your participation and for your feedback. We got so many specific, most specific notes. That's what we love. That's what we're always like, oh, this bug report is so specific. I love it. Like that is like what we get excited about when we get that feedback in. So thank you so much for all of you who took that time and effort just to play or to take that extra effort to write things down and send it to us, because it was super helpful.
Appreciate all the feedback. I heard we got close to like 1,000 bug reports come in through our bug report form. So definitely appreciate everybody playing. But for those that went the extra mile, got involved, filled out that survey, got involved on Discord, filled out that bug report.
It's a great way for
just to give us all the info on how
you
everybody's
to be
feeling
involved
about
in the
Smite
game
2.
development.
Definitely much appreciated.
Any bets on
help
over under
crap, you know?
more
oh my gosh.
bug reports or less bug reports for Alpha Weekend 2? Anyone? I think we might get more this time.
Oh yeah,
in a good, you know, alpha way, right? Yeah, in a good way.
There's more stuff, right? Yeah. So there's more opportunities for
That's true.
To play around with.
So true.
Yeah, we got a lot cooking. We got a lot that we learned from the Alpha Weekend, not just you know technically. We shout out to our technical team and the rally here and everybody for the servers stayed up in pretty good shape.
I think I played every single day, and I personally didn't even have any issues. I was playing several hours each day.
And the community was like, yo, if stuff's on fire and you can't get in, like, be understanding about it. We really appreciate that. But then even better that, you know, even with a very big turnout, things stayed smooth. Getting into the game design, we learned a lot. We got a lot of feedback about Conquest, some pacing issues, some timing, the way, you know, kind of the way the match is flowing throughout the game. Some games running into the 40s and 50s minutes.
That's because people just didn't want to leave. You know?
They were having so much fun.
I like the longer matches. It's fine by me.
We're gonna be looking to make some adjustments today on that. Item store, lots of feedback about the general system. So that's items, god design, things that were missing, some clearly overpowered items, and a couple. We'll be talking about those more today too, and you know, finally, just like some extra, you know, clarity systems and supporting systems. A lot of feedback on our new damage number systems, new accolade systems and UI across the map. So we have some exciting changes to all of those to describe today. And like, even though we got a lot of fun stuff to talk about today, it's like we're already moving. Like today, we're here to talk about Alpha 2, as we're calling it, but we already have a lot of stuff for Alpha 3 and beyond in progress and moving. This is a conversation I had with the ambassadors recently that were just surprised to hear like how much overlapping
confirmed Alpha 3
all being developed all at once.
I mean,
so, like,
we kind of already knew that.
This
it's not like it was going to go 24/7.
There's already more improvements to some of these things
one more
Alpha.
About.
There's new stuff on the horizon.
I think it might only be
tune into each
Alpha
one of these
1,
shows
2,
and just get
3.
ready to hear about some cool stuff.
And make sure to like keep in check with the Discord and stuff like that. We have flash tests.
I don't know if there's going to be an Alpha.
You might get surprised and be able to play the game.
That could be beta 1.
There was a Reddit post about someone who like thought they'd kind of snuck in.
I saw that.
She did the test. But no, that's kind of the feeling, the intent that we're going for too.
And they've been super helpful as well.
Yeah. We've been learning a lot from every one of those tests.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, AJ, you did a great summary at some of the quick hits that we wanted to cover today, but let's go ahead and dive into, you know, some of the stuff that we took from Alpha Weekend 1, a lot of that feedback that came in, and let's talk about some of the bug fixes and some of the new features, not quite quality of life stuff, but just some of the things that we saw the community give us the most feedback on and how we're addressing them in Alpha Weekend 2. So first up with the bug fixes, we got a few that we wanted to call out just because the community's been talking about it.
Well, this is just fun because, you know, we normally
Fix
wouldn't
the
do bug
auto
fixes
purchase
as the first
with potions,
highlight
good.
of a Smite 1 show.
Fix key
I
binding
guess we
settings.
used to
Controllers
back in
have
the day a little
rebindable
bit
button
more.
options.
Depends on the bug. We used to focus on a couple of like
Sometimes.
Tab and
Yeah,
scroll
but it's
wheel are
like-
bindable.
Same thing here, really.
For the alpha process, we want people to know that
Hey,
we're
fix the
tackling
issue with auto run,
the
causing
high-priority
people to
bugs
walk
that they were reporting. And
slowly.
also
Good,
like to know
good.
that this is not an extensive list.
Okay.
It's going to be a bit of a theme today, as this is not an extensive list of everything that changed. You know, we're just going to walk through a lot of the key moments. So
Patch notes should be live on the site for all the details if you want to follow along with us. But yeah, for sure.
Hell yeah.
So let's see what we got here. Fixed auto buy, not stop if you buy or sell potions.
This was a big one.
Big one.
For sure.
Right.
Yep.
So there's also
The
I think, some,
auto run bug
other
was
improvements
a
to auto
quality
buy,
bug,
like a
though.
visual warning
Because you
that'll
would
tell you if
numlock
you
to go
exit
auto
it.
walk, and your character would go.
Or maybe that's an alpha 3. I don't know. We'll find it.
that crossover we're
Spoilers.
talking over is
So that's fixed. Let's see. Fixed issues with key bindings. Controllers should now have fully rebindable.
And you would
buttons,
walk
and
like
we've
3
updated the
feet in
Savage
30
preset,
seconds. It's got a good
to
taste,
feel a
actually.
little bit more like Savage.
It's got a good
Smite
taste.
1.
We got feedback that it didn't quite feel the same way. We tried a few different keybinds, especially with the new active system to make it work, and we found that going back to what Smite 1 does felt better overall. But if you liked what we did in the original Alpha weekend, you can also now just change it back.
There you go.
Well, that's something that Smite 1 players have always wanted.
Yeah.
Fully rebindable console.
Yeah, this is
And that now,
really
no,
big deal.
where there's still, you know, it's been getting improved to every alpha, and we'll
Yep.
keep expanding on that. Let's see. Tab and scroll wheel are now bindable. Is
Lots
that
of
meant to be dot? Is that the period key?
I think so.
Or is that a typo?
I think it's a typo. Yeah.
Because I would assume the period key was already rebindable. Fine.
Probably.
It's not
Yeah.
included in this list.
We'll find out.
We'll find
now.
out.
More PC binds. VGS console pinging, tree keybinds. There was a lot of fixes there. There was missing lines. There were some mixed up lines. There was
VGS causing movement was a big one that's fixed. Yeah.
There was the ping system wasn't working for console. I don't think at all, but that should be working. And it was just using a test sphere, as we call the debug sphere, just a plain white circle. But now it actually has a real targeter. And yeah, we also fixed an issue with auto run.
This one made me sad. I like being able to
you encounter that one a lot?
MMOs. Yeah, but you could just
Yeah.
hold it down to
It was-
RP walk as
yeah.
you can do in MMOs. You
you were just
slow mo.
It was cinematic.
So maybe we bring it back somewhere.
Still probably do that through some
Just, like,
combination
spam
of
somehow.
keys.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
It was real cinematic.
Well, yeah, those were the bug fixes that we wanted to highlight here on the show just because we saw a lot of community conversation about them during Alpha Weekend 1, so we wanted to call them out. Lots more bug fixes on patch notes on the site, but let's get in game and talk about some of the other things that we're talking about. AJ, you mentioned some of the combat UI stuff that we're addressing in Alpha Weekend 2, specifically damage numbers. We got a lot of feedback on how damage numbers show on the screen, so we've made a pass in this new iteration of damage numbers to help improve just the general clarity whenever you're in combat.
Yeah, we worked a lot on this, and we still have a long way to go. So we just want to make sure we preface that. This will be an active conversation between the devs and the community to figure out, you know, what people like the most, and we want to continue to add more options, more variation to this. But the immediate changes you're going to see in the next alpha is there are no longer going to be the magical physical symbols next to everything when you deal damage. It's only going to be when you take damage. So you can already check what type of damage you're dealing by reading your ability tooltips. So you don't really need that twice. But if someone is hitting you for a lot of damage and it's really big numbers, you want to know what to itemize against, so you can still see that. Additionally, when you take damage, it's going to have a little bit of a coloration change for magical versus physical. So when you take damage, you'll see the red number, but then you'll also see a tinted orange or purple symbol for the physical and magical. And there's also a variety of fixes we did just around sizing, anchoring, animation.
That seems like good options
just
to me.
Overall polished pass. Anything you want to add, Pon?
Yeah, there.
I believe we're ready to go in game and kind of show some stuff.
Yeah,
off
we
this
can
con,
definitely
for
look
sure.
at it.
Yeah.
The main things to know are just there's a lot of issues with how the damage is scaling. So you'll see spoiler for things that are going to be here, but we'll ignore that for now. But you can see the damage number now.
Yeah, there's spoilers here in this current dev build.
Before, all the damage numbers spawned from the same location and would get offset. So I have a clip of Kurnanos with 6 Manchu bows auto-attacking with all this stuff. It would cause all the numbers to be across the screen, but you can see now, even if I do a whole bunch of stuff here, damage numbers separate a little bit. The basic attack damage is on one spot,
I'm down for that,
ability damage
actually.
on another spot, the item procs are on another spot, so they're all
I've got
separated
nothing
out.
against this at all.
We have a few more things that we're looking to do here, so you'll see more improvements in even the next next Alpha Weekend as well. But this should be a much clearer combat experience.
It's very
seeing
clear
what
what's
damage number
happening.
you're doing,
So
seeing that it's attached
very
more closely to
clean.
the god that you're actually attacking, and then
That's
we can
good.
also do bot shoot 5. Nope, they're not going to attack because but
they're chilling right
you would
now.
see if you take damage. Similarly, the damage is more anchored on your character. It has a little bit of randomization to make sure that it doesn't overlap important damage numbers. There's scaling adjustments to the size of damage when you hit really big versus when you hit a small amount. The bigger damage takes more precedent. There's just a lot of things that weren't there before that you'll notice as you're playing and should be a better improvement. And again, give us feedback on this. Again, we're going to be constantly iterating on this. Damage numbers are one of those things that you could tweak probably forever. But if things are missing or things aren't quite feeling right when you're playing, definitely give us a shout out for that.
Absolutely.
That seems
I
like
forgot to warn you that the
nice
nameplates were
improvement
under
for quality of
construction
life
in
right
this
there.
build.
Oh yeah,
Health bars floating over the gods' heads. That's not what they're going to look like, I don't believe, in Alpha 2, but they are currently still being iterated on for a future release.
yeah. This is technically the AW3 build you could call. So you might see some things that are weird, but
We've just decided that spoilers are okay on the show.
Yeah, it's
If
fine,
There's a
right?
little bit, it's about the open communication, and players want to see where we're going next.
Yeah, they're gonna see even more progress. which is
Yeah,
pretty
so
cool.
there you'll see some of the progress that's going to be in the future, even though it's not in this patch. Okay, what's next?
Hey, they've got a ward
Some,
symbol.
updated gameplay settings.
They
that
had a
the community's
ward
been asking
picture. I
about.
don't think they had the ward picture on
things
last time. I think it was
the
just a filler
ruler,
image, if I
line
recall.
targeter is going to be added.
Yep.
And Alpha Weekend 2, the ability to remove the reticle from
Hey, the
some of your
ruler's
screen
in.
is going to be added.
Nice.
That self nameplate
The ruler's in.
feature is actually going to be added too. That
Right.
way, the health bar shows above your character.
A lot of people
Lots
wanted
stuff that,
their
you know, is in
ruler
Smite
back
1
in
that the
game for
community
their,
was looking for in
abilities.
Smite
That's
2 is
huge.
going to be added as well.
Yeah, should make it feel a little bit more like the Smite you're comfortable with, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, getting those settings a little bit closer to how you had them in Smite 1, so that you can give us better feedback on, you know, this isn't looking right, or you know, I just needed this, and all of a sudden I just needed a ruler, and I'm not super worried about my
Yeah,
target.
now I can go back to instant cast. or
Yeah,
whatever, maybe.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are really important for getting, like, actually just being core to people's gameplay
Yep.
experience. Like, more so than you would ever imagine.
It's those little things that like build up, and if you don't have the
Oh,
ability
this
to
patch
customize
notes
some of
makes
that
me
and
so
remove your own
happy.
frustrations that might be different to someone else's.
Yeah.
This makes
Yeah,
me
it'll
so
improve
happy
performance.
compared to the
So
patch
again,
notes we've been getting for Smite
All right,
1.
that's a quick one.
Even
Next
like
one
the
is gonna
little
be
things,
a
you're
much
like,
bigger
yeah.
one, but we're
They're
doing a
doing
pretty
the
big
thing.
oh,
Like, this is
hell
what we
yeah.
want
pass
to
on the
see.
item shop.
You know,
That's
this
exciting.
AJ,
is
you
the
want to kick us off
direction
and
we
tell
like
us about,
to
you know,
see.
what we're doing with the item shop in Alpha?
Yeah, so this is speaking specifically to the item shop UI and the general functionality and art, not the items in the shop.
Should be
Although we'll
easier
get
to
there today,
navigate
too.
with controller. Boom.
So
That was a
couple
huge thing
big
that
changes.
people
First of
wanted.
all, just another art pass. This is an alpha. We've been iterating on our own internally. We've gone through a lot of item stores and HUDs that players haven't even seen, and a lot of adjustments. So we're going to keep shipping those to players as we go. But this one, the new item store has a completely new look to it. It's let's see, it's a little more dark in the coloration. It's got some black and gold and silver. We'll probably be able to demo it here shortly.
Yeah, I think we can go
it
in
looks
there.
really cool. There we go. So you'll also see some new features here that we'll talk about as well that are, I
It's
think
like-
everything we're going to see
it's
here
like
is in
Smite
the Alpha 2. But here's
Inventory
kind of the new look
dark
for the item
mode. It's
store.
actually pretty
These
nice.
colors fit our tone a little
like
bit better,
it.
we felt, and they also just help
very-
with the
it's
clarity.
like- it's like
Makes
contrast.
it feel less noisy, less busy. So we're going to be experimenting with that here, and then depending on how we feel about this is something that, you know, is potentially going to be driving a lot of our UI artistic design through the rest of the HUD, the screens that you use while you play Smite, and even some of the front end. As we're still, you know, nailing down the thematic art style that we're going to
Much
use throughout the
cleaner,
entire game, so it can
for
be
sure.
consistent. You know, one thing that we struggle with on Smite 1 when you're building on the game over itself for 10 plus years, certain things look dated, certain things look different. So trying to do our best here to keep that consistent as we go.
Okay.
Let's
I like
see.
it.
We have a lot of controller navigation
Yes.
improvements.
Shout out to all the console and controller players for all the feedback on the item
Yeah.
store, for sure.
Yeah, that was huge.
Yeah, we have a controller dedicated team at the studio, and we have controller dedicated ambassadors and streamers, and, you know, community members who are giving us a lot of feedback there. So not going to list out all the specifics, but the general entire flow of navigating through this shop with the controller had many changes, and we're going to continue making changes to make that as smooth as possible on controller.
Good.
Okay, the next one is the really exciting
There's a
one,
hell
which
of a lot
we're
of
hopefully gonna
console
be able to
players.
demo
You
for
better give
here
them a
with
comfortable
Bonbon's,
experience. You know what I'm saying?
settings.
It's got to
So
be a priority.
We have now
So that's
added
good.
the option to the store to display it in 3 different ways.
Oh, this is wild.
Yeah.
Have you used this setting?
I have
live?
not used this.
You have? Oh, I use
All right,
this every game.
So you're gonna have to hit escape, Pawn. You have to exit the store, hit escape. You're gonna go to your settings. I think it's under gameplay at the very bottom.
There it is.
Item store layout. Go ahead and pick centered.
Yeah.
And hit apply, and save and exit, and now open your item store.
Bang.
Oh my
There we
gosh.
go.
Smite PC players.
I have just unlocked so much knowledge and happiness.
Oh, I didn't know this.
I didn't know.
We've been hyping this around the studio. These guys
I
are
know.
so focused on
Okay.
making their gods.
Cool.
But I mean, that's part of the process. I think that's been really interesting, right?
That's
It's like at some
sick.
point, some of the UI team
Nice.
was like, let's see what it would look like in this sort of format, and there's like they quickly prototyped it, worked it up, and put it inside the game. That
This is a good example of one of the tangible benefits of UE5.
100%.
Because this
would not have been
modular UI, widget blueprints for you Unreal devs out there have allowed us to essentially use
That's cool.
all of our core code and UI work and just arrange it in slightly different sizes and shapes, because the way Unreal handles that is it's designed to let you do that.
Even having this kind of a discussion back on Smite 1 would have just been like
Would have been months.
half a
Yeah.
year ordeal. Or
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, okay,
It's
so
ended up
that's the
being like
UI feature for this season.
Yeah.
Like,
Our UI team on Smite 1 just worked so damn
So
hard.
hard.
Yeah.
Because with that old tech, it was
It
very
was-
limiting.
Yes.
And they
Yeah,
still
right.
did amazing things, but it was very limiting. But wait, Pawn, there's more. Please go
Wait,
ahead to
there's
the
more.
setting and choose one more setting for me. I believe it's called the split option,
Oh yeah, the third one.
and save that for me. And
Apply that.
Yep, we're gonna save.
and now the classic
Da-da-da.
console player experience
You don't have any
will
sacrifice.
also be supported. So you're going to get the new shop left aligned by default.
Okay.
We're still really interested in
Interesting.
experimenting with that one to make it as useful as possible, keeping everything in one place.
Hey,
Not covering
more
the whole screen,
options
but we know
is
there's
more
different things
better.
that different players want and different platforms want. So
If
here
you
we go. We
like
have all
one, you
three.
don't like the other.
It's gonna be on YouTube.
Good
Just be
to
like,
you.
like and
Use
comment
that
and tell us
one,
which
right?
You're gonna be
Like,
using.
comment,
Do it.
subscribe. Let us know
Nice.
which,
In the
which
comments,
item
which
shop
one
you're going to be
Let me know
using
in the comments which one you can use.
Or spam it in chat right now. Let us know which one you're going to use.
Some other features you'll see in the item store is the those little up and down arrows in the top right. You can now pivot between tier 3s versus tier 1s, sorting up and down. I believe that's in Alpha 2.
Now you're tier 3.
If you have to wait till Alpha 3, I apologize, but I think it is. I think it is in Alpha 2. The other one is those
that big?
new filter buttons across the top.
Yeah.
These are now a subset of items by role, and there's some level of God unique tailoring to these items as well. These are currently designer configured items, so this is just a set of it's intended to be a set of recommended items from the design team on what you might need in each god in each role. So if you somehow end up playing Soul Jungle and you're not really sure what to do, we gave you at least some place to start.
Some new icons I haven't even seen yet. I'm like staring at them. I was like,
I know the helms.
The helms are the ones.
Yeah,
Yeah. When you go to those helms, I haven't even seen those.
A lot of item icon art coming in over time. We didn't
Nice.
list all those out on patch notes, but there are some really cool ones, so keep an eye out for
Some
that.
viewers
But yeah.
with some eagle eyes might notice some new items that we'll
What?
get into a little bit later. Yeah.
If you go back to so this is in the split screen, but if you're using the default screen or the centered screen, you'll now see that the filters have text instead of just the symbol. So you can read which stat you're choosing more easily. You also, Pawn, just do a quick test for me. When you go up and search for an item, can you just type crit in there?
Is that in yet?
You can now search
Nice.
by
We were
stat
talking about that. I didn't know that.
and some stat abbreviations.
Interesting.
I think if you type like critic or like something in
Interesting.
between, you have to type actually crit or critical strike or
Yeah,
something. So
yeah,
it's a little limited right now, but there are a couple shortcuts.
Still cool,
I think
though.
if you search like strength or STR, you should also get that.
Nice.
Nice.
That's very
and that'll work for pretty much every stat if you type the name or type the the magic abbreviation.
I'd like aggro and get his Zeus's build in there.
They're watching the patch
there's
with
a
us
plan.
exactly,
attack
dude.
speed is like ATK SPD or something like that. Like, you can see those in the other store.
Got it.
The
In the
left aligned store, you
Right.
can see those abbreviations too, and those are the right ones. So
Yeah, I want to play around with this.
I know. I'm gonna add something. You're gonna type
Yeah.
in something
those we
weird.
can add those
we do
really
that?
easily.
All right,
I
we're
can show you how to do it. It's you
100%
can add
I'm gonna do
you could
that.
add clumsy
I'm gonna-
special, and it could just bring up your build.
Absolutely, I'm gonna
It could
do that.
actually do that.
all the pure stat sticks, I'm just gonna put Big Damn on.
Oh, yeah. Classic. Oh, we
Okay,
love
so
that.
I mean, I know we're hanging out on the items.
Now
for
this
long
is a
time.
video
I don't know what to say
game!
about this.
Woo!
This was probably the most discussed. Felt like the single most discussed feature of the first alpha.
Yeah.
I mean, it's maybe hard to make that claim, but it was a lot of
It
talk
felt
about
like
this.
It was up there. For
Yep.
So a lot of effort went into that for Alpha 2 and gonna get continued effort throughout the next phases.
Sweet. Well, I think that's the end of our section for like bug fixes and new kind of Alpha Weekend 2 features. But we just got done talking about the item store, but let's hop into items overall, right? So the first one, talking about items, not necessarily an individual item.
There was a couple of holes in
change,
the itemization
an overall
builds.
item change.
So.
Stat efficiency buffs. What are we doing here?
This is a first. A Smite first. Another Smite first of the day. We haven't really talked about this too much in the previous test. We hinted at it, but now we're actually seeing it for real.
Stat efficiency
the Smite 2
buffs.
item system has this concept of stat efficiency. Each stat, so strength, int, attack speed, cooldown rate, whatever, have a gold value per point of that stat associated to them. That is what balances the tier 1 items, and that is taken up through the tier 2 and the tier 3 items. Now, other mathematical formulas are in the tier 2s and tier 3s to adjust that a little bit depending on the strength of the passive or active of the effect, essentially. But there is like an intentional connective balance point between each stat. So we're going to see today a couple of the first stat efficiency changes, buffs. So we have today a decreased cost for buying attack speed and crit.
Yes.
This is connected to a god change.
Yeah, I was going to say.
We'll be talking about in the god section.
Yes.
You want to chat about that real quick so it gives context?
Yeah,
I think so.
So the main change that we did was we got feedback that especially bruiser characters were very, very effective. They could be super tanky and they could also deal a lot of damage. One of the main drivers of that was actually everyone having strength as a base stat. And it was a very high amount of strength so that everyone's basic attacks would hit pretty hard. We've brought that down overall across the board so that now you actually have to invest more into your build to actually do that much damage, which should temper the kind of bruiser build that we were seeing. To compensate for that, so if you are playing a carry and you're auto-attacking a ton and you're building attack speed or crit to make those auto-attacks more powerful, it's going to be essentially easier to get a point of crit or a point of attack speed than it was before. To basically compensate for that.
Because the carries, like tank characters lost some strength, but carries did too.
Yes.
And it wasn't just tank gods that were doing, bruiser gods that were doing well. It was like bruiser builds on like anyone.
Yeah.
Was really strong. So that's
Hybrid
one of
was
the key changes we'll get to in the
really
top
strong
of the god section, and connected
in the
to it
last
here was
alpha.
that decreased
Especially
strength
hybrid
and attack
shock.
speed cost. So buffed.
Yeah.
Pretty much buffed. The way this manifests itself in the game is every item with an attack speed or crit stat on it is going to either be cheaper for the same stats or give you more stats for the price.
Yes, totally.
The other one we did is a new int cooldown. So we had just cooldown efficiency, but we felt like mages, mid laners, intelligence users, where we went the whole first patch show without ever saying the word.
I know.
Messed it up immediately here.
Messed it up immediately. No more
We're feeling
mages.
a little on the weaker side from the feedback and from the data. So one of the ways we buff that is by giving them better rate on their cooldown items. So if int and cooldown are on the same item, you're going to be getting more efficient items than protection and cooldown or strength and cooldown.
Yeah.
Cool.
So in that ways, you'll see either higher int on the intelligence cooldown items or higher cooldown.
Yeah.
Or cheaper.
Right, because for intelligence users that are traditionally played in the mid lane, they rely on that cooldown more heavily than a tank needs to rely on it, or an auto attacker needs to rely on it. So they need their items to be more efficient in that way, or else their builds will just be more expensive getting the stats that they need.
Logic.
I think having the same stat,
a lot better
but
than
viewed through the correct
we're nerfing
contextual
Equinox
lens,
by
like those
one
need to have
healing.
different stat values, and I think that
It's fine-tuned
like
balance, and it
stupid
also
stuff.
introduces an additional unique element to
Like, this
int
is like a
builds in
cool
general.
form of balance.
So if even if you're going like int chalk, you're also going to be able to get more efficient cooldown.
Yes.
Which is just, we thought was really cool, kind of the way strength is also going to be affecting your basic attacks.
Yep.
Int now kind of in these situations also helps you build more effective cooldown.
I think it's made those characters' builds feel much smoother. Like it should just feel very natural to players, I think, hopefully.
Yep.
Cool. All right, the next thing that's up with items is kind of another overarching change. Let's talk about cost and economy.
This is a loaded bullet point.
Yeah, I
right
know,
here.
right?
So we kept it
decrease
simple
the
here.
starting goal.
For the communication plan.
Lots more info in the written patch notes on this side.
But not even all of the info this would be an extremely long section. We'd essentially have to relist out the entire item store again. So we opted not to do that in the patch notes this time. let us know if that's trouble. We can look into new strategies in the future, but you'll want to check in game. But effectively, every item in the game has had some level of minor rebalance to it because of this. So we decrease the starting gold in Conquest and decrease the prices of a lot of tier 1s.
Okay.
So this helps you smooth out your build so you can buy 6 potions and an item and run out of money perfectly, run out of gold perfectly.
Yeah.
This helps. We still allow you to build the same combinations of build we did before. Also, we made tier 1s and tier 2s cheaper to give ourselves more flexibility with tier 3s. Yep. In Alpha 1, pretty much every tier 3 was very expensive because we were kind of pushing ourselves to the max through the tier 1s and tier 3s because these things are all connected now. And there's a lot of systems involved. We can't just like break the rules in different places like we did in Smite 1 with the tree system. So there was a lot of like bottom up rework of every item. Tier 2s are more efficient.
Yep.
Tier 2s are cheaper generally.
Around the same cost, maybe a little cheaper.
Okay, and then tier 3s now have a little bit more intentional cost stratification. You're going to see some intentionally cheaper tier 3s and some intentionally still like 3K.
Yeah, like the average tier 3 was like 2.7K before, and now it's closer to 2.4, 2.5. And the range now it goes from like 2.2 to 3, where before like most items sat around 2.5 or higher. So you have a much bigger range of items to choose from, and the general cost of all of them combined together has gone down. But this should mean that you can actually build, like, you can rush a cheaper item to get a more efficient power spike, or some effects only make sense in the context of on a cheaper item in general.
Right.
Okay.
So
this is like an amount of like 50 gold for the Conquest starting gold and the tier 1 shifts. Like,
yeah,
it's
it's
500 gold. Or
you should be able to build the same. It just should feel nicer to build your items and finish out spending all your gold.
It's going to affect different items in various degrees. So there might be some that are more intense and maybe would have been worth discussing a little bit more, but we picked a subset of items that we're doing a lot of heavier balance on top of to talk about today. But in most cases, you're going to see, these minor adjustments in cost and stat for pretty much every item in the game.
You should still be able to buy 2 cheap tier 1 items and a couple pots.
So
of
far,
one
so
more
good,
expensive
by
tier
the
1
way,
and one
on
cheap tier
how
1
much
with no cost
development
developed. Like, that's
that
the
they've
general
gotten
flow,
done
for
within
the
a
starting
month-long
gold chain.
period.
And at tier 3 items, since because
Right,
of the
like-
efficiency rules and the component system,
full
if an
gold
item
recost
is
in the
cheaper,
store. Full
it
UI
also had
work
stats
rework of the
adjusted
store,
to
right?
fit
We
with
know
that
Soul and
cost
Hades
adjustment,
are
or
going to
made
be there.
expensive,
Like, this is
etc.
a good
We don't
pace.
just
This is
change
good
those
for the
things
sake of Smite
independently
2.
like we used to. So everything
The
will be
amount
balanced in
of
much
stuff
the same
that they're
way
able to
through the
get done
efficiency
within
system,
that
but some
set
things will be more
period of
expensive than
time.
others, and
This is good.
some things will be cheaper.
Yeah.
Yep.
So a lot of exciting things to go look for when you get into this alpha.
Speaking of exciting things,
Totally.
I want to talk about some new stuff, right? Like,
Yes,
we got
sir.
some new items to go through. So let's go ahead and kick it off. The first new item on the list is Pendulum Blade.
Clumsy, why don't you open up this one for us?
Because who gets the one after this is the
Cool down
spicy
rate.
one.
All right,
Ah.
give this one to Aggro so you can have the next one.
And a
that
bead.
Oh, the
It's
mid
got the
level gets
bead.
the less exciting item. I see how it goes. No, Pendulum Blade, really fun effect. This is an effect that we used a lot in Smite 1. Temporal beads and that kind of stuff has always allowed for really cool playmaking. And
That'd
now
be
with
a
the Smite
sick
2
item
system,
on,
we can
like,
give those exciting effects
and her,
on active items very easily. So now just
be fun.
reduce your cooldown by 3 seconds. Loki players, you're already getting your vanish resets off and all that kind of stuff. Now you can get it even faster if you don't get that kill. There are a lot of different cool applications for Pendulum Blade that this has already become like one of the items that I'm always going to in the late game for an
This one
assassin.
feels good. Like, you get like Yotons for some CDR. You want some even more, you go Pendulum Blade. Feels
Yep.
Some quick shout outs on this item. So first of all, you'll notice temp art. It's using
Yep.
the bladed boomerang as a placeholder.
Yep.
That's going to be a theme. One of the awesome parts about being in an alpha is that we can prototype items really quickly and get them out to y'all. We're going to use temp art though in a lot of those cases. If those items withstand the test of time and the community's trials and they love it and they want to keep it, that's great. We will art up all these items eventually. As you saw, a lot of new art streaming in already today. If not, then we can cut it and make a new one. And it doesn't really waste any time or effort.
That's crazy exciting to even.
So yeah,
Yes.
we have 5 brand new items today.
Yeah.
Some of which that are active, some are stat sticks, and etc. So yeah, I wanted to call it the prototype items in the temp art.
Cool.
And then also just with these active items, they just these effects that have been in
It's
Smite
so
1
good that they can
work
develop
so
the
well
game
with
so
the
much
new
more
active
efficiently,
system.
man.
And that's
So
really
good.
the theme here for this next item.
Yeah,
Clumsy.
this next item's one that we wanted to play around with a while. We just couldn't find the right way to do it. But now with the active item system, we're reintroducing Staff of Mirrodin. and Staff
The
Mirrodin.
original.
The
Staff
original
Mirrodin.
Staff Mirrodin.
The
So
crazy
yeah.
one.
high luxury gold, like we're talking about, just intelligence and CDR with the int CDR.
Cool.
But now, when you press this active item, your next
Sick.
non-ultimate ability will have no cooldown. You
So
can press
sick.
it twice.
Double spell.
Double spells.
It's good.
It's
It's
good.
good.
A cooldown.
It's good.
It's a long cooldown. You got to actually plan around what you're doing. I think when we first did do this, we're playing around with like 90 seconds just to see how it
That's
felt.
so
right?
fun,
But,
though.
this is not an item where you want to
That's
have
so fun, though.
the active effect so often, and you price the stats accordingly.
Because,
you
like,
wanna
if
make
it's
sure that this
busted,
felt fair
you
because
can
that active
make
effect
the
is
cooldown
good.
5
It's always
minutes.
gonna feel good.
And
Right?
both of these actives,
You
we really
can-
were trying
you
to still
can-
find some actives that are
There's
even
so
more
many
skill ceiling.
levers
Exactly.
you can touch
So like some of
to
the
have
actives
the
we
item
had
be fun.
in the initial test were kind of
If it's,
intentionally very straightforward.
crazy busted
A
or
super
whatever.
long duration self buff. Like you just hit it and then fight for a while. But these ones, Pendulum Blade and Mirrodin, are like specifically geared towards even more perfect timing and decision making and aim to really maximize their benefit. Which
Very exciting.
if we see how good
very
some players
exciting.
really are, we'll really see how strong these items
I
are.
was gonna say.
I
which we'll
tried,
talk about
Travis.
later.
I tried.
Con, are you
Yeah.
good enough? Do you want to show us in game a little staff of Mirrodin action? Like,
Sure.
I want to see double
Well,
raw
cheats
beams.
out all the
I
time,
need
so we're,
raw.
like, just double
I need
dropping
raw.
abilities like
Beam,
nonstop
beam,
in,
bam.
in these shows, but
Right. So if I
turn
act-
off.
cooldown should be off. Oh no, I don't have cooldowns off.
he was cheating.
Yep, he was cheating.
Classic pawn.
Always.
There, the activation. There's the text.
The beautiful temp effects.
Those are nice temp effects. Good choice.
Nice. There we go.
They were
That should be spoilers.
Okay, there we go.
So if you
that's
see
gonna
them
be
running
good,
around with those
dude.
blue crystalline sparkles on them, you know they're about to double spell you. So watch out.
And there, if I remember correctly, the balance point we reach is there is no timer on that Staff Mirrodin effect, so you can pop it.
Won't go on cooldown until you use
Exactly.
it. So you can't cheat it.
Cool.
Also, you
cheat
can
it.
just like pre-pop it and walk
Pre-pop it,
around.
Waiting,
Okay.
but then whatever ability you use next.
Yeah, but then
that's
you
the one that matters.
are gonna waste your cooldown if you don't end up
Exactly.
using that.
Yeah.
Fight.
Yeah, you can't use it and then 3 minutes later get like a double proc.
You can't do that. Triple proc.
Triple proc.
Yeah, no triple.
Yeah.
And at the moment, this is just
Triples
a
is
non-ultimate
nonsense.
ability, so this is not like your next active item cooldown, which is something that we thought about, but that's just getting like one step
That's
too far
spicy.
for now.
Yeah.
It's only your
maybe
1, 2, or
later.
3.
Exactly.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Next new item is Spear of Negation. Just a stat stick on this one, right?
It is,
Classic.
but it's a unique niche combination of stats that
Intelligence
didn't
plus
exist
magical protection.
in
Cool.
the game.
Yep.
Pon Pon was a big
Yeah,
proponent of this one.
I literally was just like, when
It's good to
we
fill that
have
kind of
Poseidon,
stuff in, you know?
and he Krakens me, and I am Hebo, how do I survive Kraken without buying like just a shield or something, right?
I mean-
and like I used to play back in season like the alpha version, right? And that was like a situation, and you had like Voidstone, and Voidstone was just really effective at continuing to do damage, but being that one targeted item that would let you survive the burst combo. Because after you survive the burst combo, you were good, right?
Yeah,
So
build
it
life
just
steal or
feels
whatever.
like it just fills a niche that we didn't have before. I'm happy to have it. I like it.
Good.
And sometimes the items that like, you need can be relatively straightforward.
Yeah.
This item does have some connectivity to another like reworked item we'll talk about later today, so it made it even more necessary. But we also
yes.
like this item ended up being a stat stick because we wanted it to still have these stats in pretty high quantities.
Yep.
We didn't want to like dilute this effect with the passive, and God knows we tried with Stone of Fall and like every different
Yeah.
way we tried to make that mage anti-mage item work when it's
Yeah.
like
How many different
let's
iterations
just
of
go
Stone
with
Wall
the
do we have?
simple version here, which
Yeah.
is like a medium amount of intelligence and a
There's
high
nothing wrong
amount
with
of magical
stat
protections.
sticks.
Yeah, if I
Stat
want to
sticks
survive
and Smite
Kraken
are
and
strong.
still do a decent amount of damage. I
Most
build
Right.
it.
If
classes
your
are
oppo-
probably
if your
gonna,
opponent
you
team is,
know,
you know,
4
im-
stat sticks and
investing
2
a little
actives.
too much in their magical damage,
Except
or
maybe
maybe
for
whoever's
supports.
running away with
Supports
the
are
game.
probably gonna be 4
this
actives
is a
and
really
2
strong
stat
counter
sticks.
item that just should
But-
slot in well. It's going to be
or
situational.
take.
It's not going to be the most popular item in the game.
It's
but I
not
think
like luxury statted with luxury,
yeah,
stats and
it's relatively
luxury
cheap, so you
priced
can
and
get into it when you're in an emergency if you need to. But it's going to be a solid role player.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we got another classic item returning: Breastplate of I can't talk. Breastplate of Valor, making its way to Smite 2.
And we're in a different order. Did you skip one?
Did I? Oh, I did skip one. Typhon's Fang.
Are they? Production's got it,
Production
though.
is good.
They were quick.
Yeah,
Okay,
they're quick.
Like, oh,
yeah,
they're
they
like,
know.
we can do either. We're
we
good.
can do either. They're ready to go. Yeah.
We're messing with them.
So we have
40%
Smite 2
lifesteal
reworked
in
version of
150
Typhon's Fang.
mana.
Now we chose the name, even though this item doesn't do the same thing, because
Fun.
it's just kind of the known.
What a
high
fun
lifesteal.
item.
Yep.
Yeah.
And everybody just knows that.
No
the way we chose
power,
to represent that
no
here in Smite 2 is pretty
nothing.
interesting.
Just life
stats here.
steal
Yeah,
and
just
mana.
A ton of life.
Super
40%.
interesting item.
No int, no strength.
Yep.
Just a lot of lifesteal.
Yeah, there's a lot of discussion going back and forth on like, what do we want to, what is the purpose of this item? What are we trying to achieve? And the ultimate idea was, well, we just want an item where the premier stat is lifesteal. What can we do with that? Who's that for? Originally, it was for the
I heard you want
intelligence
lifesteal. We
users.
put
but we're like,
lifesteal
okay,
on your
well, there's
lifesteal
actually
item.
more flexibility if we lean onto the lifesteal stat. And now this can actually apply to anyone. If you're a strength user, if you're an int user, if you're, abilities or basic attacks, you could still make use of that lifesteal in your own independent way.
It's very viable on any god.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you're willing to sacrifice
Interesting.
strength or protections and instead go for a lot of lifesteal.
Yeah.
It's a luxury stat,
I mean,
luxury price. The
Lifesteal
Soul,
is also a reminder strong.
Unless her kit got
Very
changed
strong.
incredibly.
Very, very strong. Right.
Generally
because
likes
there's
lifesteal.
it's
Anubis.
automatically ability lifesteal.
80s.
This isn't.
And, basic attack and abilities for all gods.
And there's
Any
no
hunter
AoE
that built
coefficient.
crit
Right.
as a
So
late
it's just
game
god
flex
versus minion.
for
Previously,
critting with lifesteal.
you would drop, you do a full Anubis
Interesting
combo
options.
and hit a bunch of people with your 3 and your
Interesting
1.
options. Thank
And
you
you'd
both.
lifesteal a good amount because you're Anubis, but your actual values that you're getting from your lifesteal percentages are very low.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you're going 40% lifesteal is an insane amount of lifesteal. Like
It's still
is-
it's a heavy
it is
trade-off though
lot.
for no
It is.
CDR, no int.
Zero
like-
The
power of
design?
any sense.
Like,
But
I
that's
think
what makes it
Anubis
really
is gonna
interesting.
want this
Smite
item,
2
but
is so
maybe
much
not
more
even every time,
interesting.
depending on
No.
the
And
style.
the counter builds with
It's
anti-heal. of
so
course, you gotta
much
keep that in
more
mind.
interesting.
I even put that in the dev notes. Like, hey, just a reminder
Like,
to look up.
even
for
if
those
this
ruinous
item is
items that are
awful
anti-heals
or
and
OP,
yeah, too, so.
it's so much
if
more
you see an enemy
interesting.
Anubis
You
with
know?
Typhon's Fang, buy an anti-heal.
Yeah. And there's a
need it.
tier 1 component of some anti-heal available.
Actually,
so like,
you can even
start
slash a little
counter building
anti-heal.
immediately.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, breastplate of valor. I still can't say the
He's
item.
still good
on
to
my second
get
try.
Yeah, almost like a try.
I know, right?
He ended up with
Life is cruel
breastplate.
sometimes.
I know, right?
But it's back.
Yeah.
An iconic Smite 1 item. Again, just kind of like a niche that even though frontliners were very strong in the first alpha weekend, we're
fun
taking some
passive.
power away from them. We want to make sure they don't feel super weak or
Fizz
anything like
procs
that.
cooldown
And this is
mana
one
when
of the
you
niches that they were
lose
kind of missing.
8,
That
400
high cooldown item
plus
with a little
30
bit of
per speed. Your
protection
ability
that's
cooldown is
fairly
reduced by
accessible.
1
But
second.
now, for the first time ever,
That's
Breastplate got its
interesting.
glyphs in Smite 1, but it never had a true passive. Now has an actual passive attached to it, which has felt really, really good and very natural to its identity of the cooldown item.
And we specifically wanted to choose a flat amount of health to be used here as the thresholds, because if it's percentage based, then theoretically anyone can make use of it to a pretty decent degree. But now, if you really want to make use of that passive, you should be buying more health. You should be buying more supplemental items with health on it. You'll be getting even more value. out of
Super
that passive.
interesting
That's what
support
players
item.
will really
Yeah, I
care
like that
about.
a
I didn't even think about that.
Super
Yeah.
If you have low health, you're barely going to trigger this,
Exactly.
right? You're just going to
400
die.
HP base is a large amount. So
Yeah.
we're thinking about 2 triggers of this maybe, and even more if you start building towards health.
All right. Well, that's it for our new items. Well, we got a couple of reworked items, and the first one is kind of a big topic here. So, AJ, I'm gonna
Really? I didn't see any discourse.
I know, right? No discourse about it.
Oh.
So
Oh, no, this isn't gonna be that interesting.
I know, right? So I know I've been talking with AJ a lot about this.
I think we can blink right past it.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
So if you didn't already get it from Clumsy Little Hint, we're going to talk about Blinking Amulet here.
That's right.
So making some changes to Blinking Amulet. AJ, give us the rundown on what we saw in Alpha Weekend 1 and kind of how we're looking at Blink going into Alpha Weekend 2.
Well, we saw a lot of hype, honestly, a lot of love.
Very exciting.
A lot of fun, and that's great. We had also a lot of tough lessons to learn and a tough discussions about the item and the concept in general. So, first of all, I want to say, reworking items is going to be commonplace. We're having a very experimental approach. We're having a lot of testing.
It is a short
by all means
cooldown.
does not mean an item has failed in any way. It's going to be just a part of the alpha process to keep reworking things, testing things, seeing what we feel, seeing how things play out.
3 seconds, just like
now
Smite.
Blink is probably going to be
90
one that we'll
seconds,
be
though.
looking
Shorter
at
Blink,
in multiple
but
rounds.
more cooldown.
But
More
we
cooldown.
have a pretty I want to make sure I get my phrasing as good as correct as possible here, because there's a lot of challenging ways you can interpret this. So you'll see here on your screen a lot of changes we did. I'm not going to read them all off. I'll kind of summarize it more highly, which is that we wanted to keep the playmaking alive on this item as much as possible. So you're still going to be able to blink while you're using other abilities, which we just thought was really cool, really fun. It's gonna take some bug fixing and some practice.
Okay.
Internally to make sure that works well with everything. The QA team is still a little shaken by this decision to keep this, but it was just so hype.
Yeah.
Right. Now, what we felt like was the biggest problem for Blink was the combat Blink. So we kind of broke it down in our design.
So if you want to ult Ymir, you've got to not be in combat. So you got to be like sneaky off to the side and then blink in and try to get him.
Which obviously is great for
that's
some high
pretty
plays, but also,
interesting.
like, didn't really feel that rewarding when you can't be counterplayed, you can't be stopped, you can't be prevented. It's just going to work every time if you know how to press the buttons. Like, we obviously that was fun for the first weekend, but we think that was going to grow tired really fast when you have a like completely uncounterable effect. The only way to balance it would be to have an excessively long cooldown or really bad stats, both of which people were already not liking. Like that was, if there was any negatives about Blink, they were like, man, this character I always like to build Blink on, but I'm just getting, I'm making such a sacrifice for these bonus effects. So really what we wanted to make this next version of Blink was, what's the most powerful, exciting version of Smite 2 Blink for the more traditional use cases Smite 1 needs Blink. So here we have a combination of stats. No longer allowed to be used in combat, which is a significant nerf. So in that case, we were able to buff it in a lot of other ways. It got a little cheaper. It got a little better stats. It got a significantly lower cooldown.
Half, yeah.
Yeah. So the gods who really
I'll
need
be real
Blink
with you. Combat
will be
Blink is
best
kind of
served
lame.
by this
I'm gonna
Blink,
say
we
it.
felt. And of course,
It's
the
cheesy
cool
and it's
ambushing
kinda lame.
troll plays, whatever, charging up your Ymir,
Especially
in the
a high
bushes
level
and then
game.
teleporting with no graphical effects. That's on us. But we're gonna let you. Keep
I had to
doing it
play
for
a
now
whole
until we
year
can
with
fix
Combat
the-
Blink and
the
Smite,
visual issues and
and
things
let me
like
tell
that.
you,
So,
it got real old real quick.
yeah, we felt this was just like a really good meeting point between the items. And the last little like asterisk on the end is we're gonna keep looking into more unique movement items.
I think there's a spoiler in an upcoming deep dive that might be.
So not necessarily.
The one you
Yeah,
were doing?
you throw a
yeah,
flickering
100%.
ritual on top of
Yeah,
that, and
we
you got
got
2
permission
combat
already.
blinks. It got real crazy.
Yeah.
No,
I don't
it's
think
not
it
out
is,
yet.
no.
It's coming in
It'll
Alpha
be in
3, though.
between Alpha 2. Well, maybe. The goal is the goal.
So we're not to say that we're immediately going to try to deliver like a combat Blink replacement.
Yeah, no.
But like we're going to keep adding more alternatives with some unique effects that can do movement. And like if the main thing people are missing from this change is that they can't like blink out of combat anymore, there are other ways we can implement things that can
That
deliver
would
a
be
similar experience.
crazy.
Trying to
Like,
accomplish? Is it
that would be
self-displacement?
crazy.
Is it trying to
If you
hinder
could
enemies?
Thor
Is it
ulti
juking?
and then
Is it,
right before you land from Thor ulti, blink while you're in the air
Does it have
to
to live
land a little
all
bit
on
further,
one
that would actually
So,
be nuts
this is
if
the new
that
Blink.
ended up working like
I'm excited
that.
to see how this goes for now. I think the characters that like Blink are going to be doing really well with this. And you can still make those crazy plays, but you have to watch out. Like if you queue up that chalk ult and prepare to blink on the team,
What if
gotta
you were
dodge
like
those
sitting in a
hits,
Rama
or it's
ulti at the
gonna
top,
prevent you from blinking because you'll be
and you like
you'll trigger
blinked
the
to
combat
land down
timer.
at a different location?
So,
that would be interesting. I wonder
we'll
if they
see.
would let
We'll
you
see.
do
Yeah.
it while in the
It
air.
gives you
that
the
could
maximum
be really cool.
playmaking potential with the maximum
you
counterplay
could be out of combat
at the same time.
Yeah, you don't
right?
Now, how can you argue with that? Someone's going to argue with that.
Well, of course, yeah, I'm sure. Check the chat right now. I'm sure someone's
You're
arguing.
probably
with it,
already arguing with
but I feel like this is
Wait, do I have chat on this?
a very good and natural next step for let's see how this feels, and then we'll reevaluate after that. But I'm excited about the potential of this Blink.
Yeah, but everybody watching, feel free to try out Blink and Alpha Weekend 2.
That Blink
Let us
seems
know what
like
you
a
think after
much
getting some games
healthier
and with it,
version
we're taking all
for
that
the
feedback
game in the
in
long
and
run. Seems like a
AJ
much
said,
healthier
we're just gonna be
version.
continuing to not only look at Blink, but other movement items in the future.
Yep.
Oh, did I say cheaper? Apparently, it went but got more expensive. My bad. It was
Well,
the stats and the cooldown that.
Sorry, AJ,
that
you're
accounted
fired for
that. We adjusted a lot of.
There were shifts. There was
We
buffs
adjusted a
and-
lot of costs and shit.
Yes.
Yeah,
Maybe I should have read that bullet point. Now.
Yeah, we had this actually took up a lot of our discussion time.
Yeah, Blink was like many hours of discussion on its own,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Still trying to figure out where we. If
I
that's
know,
exactly
right?
where we're landing.
Who knows?
And we have an inside show tomorrow where we can get into
Yeah, that's
even more
true. Yeah,
deeper
Dev Insight
details.
tomorrow.
Yes.
Sure.
Talk about this in more detail. I see some other questions coming up that are talking about CC and beads and other things like that. We can talk about that tomorrow.
Yes.
Cool. All right, next reworked item is Bloodbound Book. It is shifting from a passive item to an active item. Who wants to take Bloodbound Book?
Interesting.
I can.
Cool.
I think largely we just found that the kind of on-demand shield effect that Bloodforge was giving us
Was way better.
was just one of those things that when Bloodbound Book procced, it wasn't necessarily when you actually wanted it procced. It didn't necessarily save you. You could be so overkilled that it didn't quite matter. But being able to control it just gives it a lot more agency over, like,
killing a god reduces the cooldown by 50%.
Or to make the play. And
10% max HP plus 80% of your int.
And so we moved it over to that style of effect.
2k
so now
HP,
it is your more intelligence focused
200 HP
kind of
base, basically.
Cool. And
plus 80% of your int,
getting
with like 500
change
int,
on the
plus
the
like
other side
400,
of the coin
like a
here.
600 HP
Getting
shield.
an update here as well with its active effect.
So Bloodbound Book became active and also got this new cooldown reduction clause.
Oh yes, that is correct.
And Bloodforged Blade is also getting the same cooldown reduction clause.
Oh,
now, as much as we like,
cool.
there's a couple interesting, deeper design elements we could get into here. One is like symmetry between strength and int items, which generally we try to avoid.
Yep.
However, these items are a unique exception right now, where they are essentially the sort of Aegis for Smite 2. So we wanted these to be available to a wide array of classes and roles without any major downsides. We also wanted to iterate on the Aegis formula. In general, Aegis is like extremely all or nothing, right? It's not super exciting anymore. Many people think of it as kind of like a necessary evil, but that doesn't mean it can't be improved upon. It can't be adjusted. It can't be made more exciting. So what's cooler than Aegis is Shield, which is effectively an Aegis, but it's a cap.
I hate
and
Aegis.
that you can fight through.
And if you never put Aegis in Smite,
stand there, which we think is
I will
just
give
already
you
a cool play for skill
$5,
and then additionally,
and
we added
a
this
Baja
new clause
Blast
that rewards you for getting kills while this ability is on cooldown. So using it to turn a fight and then secure that kill, which is like probably the most fun way we like to use the item in our testing. We've seen like high skill level players use it, is going to immediately benefit you towards the item's next use. Whereas just fleeing and spamming it as you run away to survive, you're going to have to get back to base, heal up, and get back in the fight and get another kill if you actually want to earn that cooldown. And it's 50% of the cooldown's current amount. So if it's almost off cooldown, getting a kill is not going to really make that big of a difference,
Right.
But if you kill someone right after you use it, you cut that cooldown literally in half. So just, I think, a really cool example of a lot of the cool stuff we can do in the new game. And overall, just, I think, exciting items.
Didn't we have another item rework here in the lifesteal vein? That I'm pretty sure was an AWE2?
Did I forget one?
I just want to make sure that I'm not going crazy, but we can... Did we not mess around?
You can pull up patch notes on the site. We may have missed one.
There might have been some on the patch notes.
Can I just say just in case? Because I'm pretty sure didn't we go give the Reaper a glow up? I'm pretty sure that was an AWE2. Around the same time, we
definitely talked about it. I don't know if we.
It's in the game.
And
I'm pretty sure
in the game.
It's in the game. We've been playtesting with it. I'm pretty darn sure it's an AWE2.
Yeah,
I
let's
might have
see
just
what
forgot
Pon's
to
got
put that on
back
the
there.
match notes.
Right.
You're on dev for AWE.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm on AWE3. So
So it'll be there for sure.
Right. Yeah. By then.
I do believe we did get this in
It's on the
AWE2.
Yeah, I'm looking at the two items list at least.
Is there any
it's in there.
other?
That's the main one that I can remember at least. And the idea between the Reaper, I mean, it's not too crazy. It's a little bit of a glow up. So if it is there, and I'm hoping it is,
You can tell we're working really fast.
Yeah,
It's hard to know which one's in which build.
we just wanted to play up and make the Reaper even more interesting because we're talking about these different lifesteal options. Like, okay, well, we have Typhons, right? We have the Bloodforge changes, and it's like, well, what can we do with the Reaper? So the idea there is we want to kind of lean in to that like kill people playstyle. So it's now the threshold is going to be lower, I think at like 30%, and you gain strength and lifesteal on the trigger for when they are below 30% when you're hitting them. But the more you kill, you get stacking permanent buff, which is actually only the second of its kind, because Necronomicon is the only other one that you can actually permanently lose those stacks. But these ones you keep, and the more you gain stacks, the more that threshold increases. So it goes from 30% to 40% before you can actually get that buff. And the actual buff effects also increase with that threshold, stacking to 3 times. So the more you gain kills,
I built the Reaper quite a bit, so I know what he's talking about.
Yeah, I think Pon has it pulled up in game if we want to.
Yeah, if you want to hop over and just look at it
Here
real
we
quick,
go.
you can see the effect here. And as Clumsy described, yep, it's the threshold was lowered, but now as you get kills, that threshold will permanently increase it, which will trigger the bonus strength for you and lifesteal, and the trigger will also get stronger.
Yeah.
So by this
Up to
early, get a few kills,
60%
and you will have a very
and 40
powerful
strength. That's
item
sick.
at your disposal.
It's so different. Like
That's a dope item.
From Smite, we would have a brainstorm about what we want to do with some items, and then you have to wait like months until you're able to like see that happening. And now it's like we talked about this like 2 weeks ago, or like right before Branch, and it's just like it might, it might be in for Alpha Weekend too. It's like I'm thinking like, no, we had that conversation like a month ago. No way that's in. But like, it was probably in the next day or something like that if someone had time, which is so different.
It does look like, sorry, Isaiah, if we missed a couple.
And not to catch you guys off guard either.
No, we missed a couple. Sure. We did miss a couple more because there's a couple nerf/reworks that are also not on the current run of show.
Okay, cool.
Definitely one of which we're going to want to talk
about. They're on the patch notes show?
They're on the patch notes.
Okay, sweet.
I'm looking at the notes.
Yeah.
But even just there's a couple. So let's go to the next item, and then I'll read off a couple from patch notes, and we'll just talk about them high level.
Sure.
Cool. Let's do it.
So we got one more to look at.
Helm of
the
Darkness.
official rework section.
Yes. Helm of Darkness is our last one for official item reworks here. What's going on with Helm of Darkness?
Yeah, Helm of Darkness, we talked a little bit about Sphere of Negation and how that is the item that makes the most sense for, we needed a intelligence plus magical defense item, but people who are really into Alpha Weekend 1 might remember that Helm of Darkness was the intelligence and magical protection item, but the effect and the stats didn't really coexist very well. That effect is what you want on someone who's going to try and flank, get into the back line, whether it be an Athena trying to get a really nice taunt out of nowhere, or an Anubis trying to play an assassin type play style. That stat spread didn't really facilitate the idea of that passive. So
90 int is crazy.
Stat stick that can be a little more effective, and you're not being diluted by the passive we talked about.
Though,
and now you have Helm of Darkness with a higher intelligence and some physical protection in order to more clearly identify, like, hey, you want to play Zeus and sneak in right in between their mid and ADC and chain lightning storm on top of their head, you'll be able to get rewarded for it better with Helm of Darkness now.
Reminder for the active effect, it is you stealth.
Yeah, it's just stealth.
Anyone can stealth.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was a lot of support players were loving this item too.
Yep.
So, we couldn't really give it too much, like I said, it made sense to split this out into a true, the tank and magical, the int and magical protections versus this little splash.
Yep.
And even the supports like the aggressive nature of it, right? Because they're already buying a lot of dedicated tanking items, that having this additional like splash magical tank wasn't that useful to them.
Yeah.
So I think this is going to be even more useful for them too.
And this is luxury priced as well, so this is going to be expensive, but what you're getting is an expensive luxury effect.
Yeah, you're getting to stealth Anubis,
I can't
man.
wait to see some plays with this item. Like, it is so dope.
The first time I got stealth Anubis on, I literally jump scared. I was like, oh my god, like what just happened? Like, it is terrifying for sure.
Cool. Well, AJ, I know you have patch notes pulled up, and I know Helm of Radiance is getting a change. Do we want to talk about that one while we're talking about the helms?
I'll throw that up there because they are, a thematic pair.
Yep.
Helm of Darkness is based on Hades' Helm of Invisibility.
Yep.
Helm of Radiance is based on the Roman solar crown you see in a lot of art and sun gods. Helm of Darkness is the more aggressive version with the stealth. Of course, that's what Hades' helm and lore gives you. It's like the most lore accurate item in the game,
right.
I'd say. Helm of Radiance is the stacking protections one. So Darkness more damage, Radiance more protections.
Okay.
Radiance is just getting a simple nerf. I did just want to pontificate about the themes there. And both of them have new art in the
Yeah, they look sick.
but Helm of Radiance is just a nerf, decreased physical protection per stack from 10 to 5 on the passive. It was just giving you an absurd amount of protections. I saw a lot of people saying, just buy this item on everyone. It's the most stat efficient physical protection item in the game, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So just a big cut down on protections there. Let's see. A couple other items that we didn't get into are Polynomicon buff.
Right, you're right. How did we forget about that one?
Yeah.
Poly was
It's on the patch notes.
Me and Ira was like,
Yeah. I know.
Specifically, why did you forget about that one?
Come on, man.
Not my fault.
Me and Isaiah must have missed it copy pasting some rows
poly on
over.
Zeus?
But
No.
this is just a damage increase the passive damage intelligence scaling from
it was
30% to 50%.
Okay, much
now,
better.
This our Smite 2 poly has no cooldown.
Yes.
So that's why the damage is lower. You can just use it, auto attack cancel through your whole kit to trigger it multiple times. We know that people still are interested in the burst poly, but we're like, there's a lot of fun and flexibility for this one. So we're trying to find the right damage amount with no cooldown, but we will be looking into potentially adding a cooldown back to this item eventually.
Let us know what you guys prefer. What this feels like.
Another little nerf
It was
that would
really
be
bad.
similar to Helm of Radiance was Bagua Mirror. Same deal, just was given too much stats.
That item was always real good.
It was cracked.
Real good. Yep.
We decreased the base int and strength on the passive from 10 to 5. So a smaller shave than Helm of Radiance. Got a big nerf. This is a smaller nerf. Like, tanks got a lot of adjustment because of their performance, so we didn't want to just kill this item.
Right.
It's still like the premier magical protection item, and we like that it has an aggressive twist, so just a little nerf there. And the last one, which is a really big one that we need to talk about for sure, is Kinsblade
Yes.
nerf shift.
Yes.
So this was, by most accounts, the absolute strongest item in the entire game. I saw many people saying just buy this on everyone. It's just too good.
Yep.
It was really good because we wanted to make sure its counter effect was really strong. So it actually had relatively low stats, but it had a really strong passive. All those things added together, it was still just way too strong. But we're kind of doubling down on that philosophy and making it a really, really strong counter item now. So it's going to get increased. Your basic attack damage dealt to gods is going to now do 20 base damage plus 10% of their max HP, but only of HP from items.
Right.
So this is not going to be just a good item to buy against everyone anymore.
Okay, interesting.
But it will be better and better the more health a target is building. So it's like really specific counter item, which probably will take some getting used to. I expect a lot of people will just kind of throw this in every build and be a little like puzzled if it's not working against enemy squishies. But like we've always been looking for a way to make this item not just the best against everyone. So we're really pushing that in this patch.
So if they don't build any bonus HP, you don't get any bonus damage.
Items, AJ?
There is one more little disclaimer, which is like virtually every item in the game got adjusted to some amount.
Yep.
There might have been some other functional adjustments that we made
Very smart.
because we're just hauling ass on
But
it.
if somebody builds 1,000 bonus HP,
That is the technical term as well.
Moving fast.
Yeah.
So keep an eye out. You content creators calling out any other important, stat or cost shifts you see. Some good opportunities out there to discuss the game. But overall, just a lot of new items for Alpha 2.
good.
Cool. Well, I think that wraps it up for our item discussion. We got another big one coming up here, talking about Conquest. We mentioned earlier at the top of the show, what we noticed in Alpha Weekend 1. Games were running a little bit on the longer side of things, so we're making some changes to Conquest to kind of address and help with the overall
Curious
match
to see exactly
pacing.
what they're doing here.
AJ, you want to kick us off with our primary goals for what we're changing?
Yeah, so check the patch notes for the more detailed information, but the gist of it is objectives are going to be easier to kill. So that's Gold Fury, Fire Giant primarily.
Yes.
Are going to be easier to kill. So
they were really hard
better
to
ways
kill,
of getting
to be fair.
early game
Like,
advantage,
they were genuinely
through those.
very hard to
We're
kill.
going to decrease the amount of gold that you get from breaking down towers and getting those new tower pickups, which are super fun to pick up, but they were just giving it a lot of gold.
They were giving way too much
so
gold.
there is
That's actually
no
where most of the snowball
structure
came from.
changes in this patch. We did just mostly economy and objectives. So
Okay.
easier to kill Gold Fury or Fire Giant, less gold from towers,
Good.
more gold from lane minions and jungle camps.
Yes.
Okay.
So really what we expect here is a lot more individual agency on pressing your advantage through map control. Invading jungles is going to get even more valuable here, as those are going to be worth more. Pushing your opponents out of lane, pushing lanes into towers so they get less gold there. Stealing those objectives and killing them earlier. I think they're easier to kill, so you should be able to take them even early and more frequently.
I don't have anything against that direction.
And then there was also some important changes
got
to the way
literally
experience was being awarded
600
from kills.
gold from a tower or
Some
something. if you were
combination
there
of bug fix and balance change there. Some combination of bug fixes and balance change there, but overall we expect the gold amount over time to change and experience gained from fighting to change in this patch. So there's going to be some big economic game-wide shifts. We're going to see a lot of shakeups based on this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just like between these changes, the item changes, the god-wide changes coming up. Yeah,
He did punch
There's
your
like
hair
news
down.
for fans of change.
I know, right? Yeah.
Plenty of it.
Lots to experiment with in Smite 2 this weekend for sure. But yeah, let's move on to gods
right
here.
into them.
And Pon kind of touched on it earlier, but we are doing a base strength nerf for all gods.
In differing amounts.
Yep.
So, and this also included some ability like counter adjustments as well.
Yeah, so because everyone gets strength as their in-hand damage that they actually deal from their base god leveling up, gods that use strength for scaling means that if we just took away strength from their per level stats that they get, they're essentially getting a nerf to their ability kit as well. And so in some cases we counter adjusted, gave them some more scaling to make up for that. We increased base damages to make up for that, or we didn't make an adjustment, and that's essentially us saying we're nerfing this character.
Now all of those adjustments and counter adjustments are not fully listed on the patch notes. It's just a lot to write out. So we were gonna call out though, we have a whole additional set of buffs and nerfs on top of that.
Yes.
Yes.
Cool. So we can get into that. You can start listing them off. On her, we're going to go in alphabetical order. On her is going to be getting a nerf to Desert Fury.
Yeah, the projectile range in particular. So this was one of the features that he gained in Smite 2 was that his ultimate was now longer range than his base attack projectiles, and that plus the bigger final hit, plus the buffs to shifting sands. On her got a lot. And we thought that this was maybe the thing that pushed him a little bit too far over the edge. That increased range that on a projectile that pierces targets and walls that is easier for him to hit on that final projectile was just a little bit too much. So now that range that on her gets should be a little bit less
This should
oppressive.
feel more like Smite 1.
Yeah, if you're familiar with what 100 feet would be in Smite, or 100 units in Smite 1, 16 would be the equivalent. So it's literally almost double basic attack range is what it was. So it was very, very, very long.
Yeah.
It should now better match Smite 1 because we feel like that's reasonable for range and counterplay and hearing the ultimate going off. It was just, he could just absolutely hit you from completely far away and you didn't really feel like you could engage with him.
Yeah, and this is still longer than the basic attack range.
Yeah.
On her was, I think, the winningest god of the alpha test.
That would not surprise me.
Yeah, I could believe that.
Like,
That's why there's a big nerf here.
Yeah, on her strength.
Yeah. The other thing
He
discussed was his
very strong.
protection shred on his passive, which is definitely something we're going to keep an eye on. We at this point we kind of like how it's his unique thing that he brings as a hunter, but it is in a relatively scary amount and that might need to get further adjustment. But we're going to see how this affects him first.
All right. Next up is Bologna. Scourge going to be seeing a nerf here in Alpha Weekend 2.
Yep, just a tiny increase in cooldown. Bologna's been pretty strong on that soul lane, but we don't want it to go too crazy. We're talking about the strength level changes, talking about the hybrid item level changes. Just tiny 1 second cooldown. This is almost like a Smite 1 simple nerf here. Just a
Smite
slap
1
on the
nerf.
wrist.
Yeah, I
Slap
believe,
on the wrist, yeah.
I believe she was also not really adjusted in any strength scaling, so I think she would essentially receive a nerf in that.
Exactly.
Yeah, this character was very strong.
Yep.
All right. Next up, we're moving on to buffs now. Anubis up first. AJ, you want to take Goobus?
Of course, why not? So he's going to have a decreased cooldown on Plague of Locusts and increased base damage on Grasping Hands. People just felt like he felt a little underwhelming. He was very popular still. A lot of people wanted to try him out. A lot of people were really excited to see how he plays in the new game. And I think he played well. We saw a lot of good hit flow. It was really just like adjusting a little bit of damage. The cooldown wasn't quite low enough to let him jungle or roam enough as we'd like it to see. Plague of Locusts, high risk, high reward. Want that to pay off. Grasping Hands, like people get out of it.
It lost 2 damage in the early game,
the
though.
base damage a little bit and helping his lane carry a little bit can help a lot. And of course, the addition of Typhon's
Gooby felt very good late game, but his early game
heavily.
is what felt awful, which was weird for Gooby.
Anubis,
I don't think that's
beloved
super going to
character,
change that.
but needed a little help.
Yeah.
A little love in Smite too. All right, moving on. We got Bacchus up next. Going to be seeing
Bacchus
Belly
was
Flop
strong.
getting a buff here, increasing the damage a
he's
little
already
bit.
strong.
Yeah, from the
though.
strength scaling in particular. So this is a build that I know Pon and I have both loved a lot. Is like
He was
solo
strong.
lane Bacchus,
All the
where
supports
you're
felt
building
strong. The Guardians, I
some
guess I should
amount
say.
of
Well, they're not
strength,
Guardians.
some amount
Guardians
of
don't
hit,
exist anymore.
mostly just a lot of protections and health though, and it's a really, really fun build,
Tanks.
and just making sure that it feels a little bit more impactful because it can be very strong. It just takes a little bit too long to get online, so this should make it feel more impactful.
Awesome. All right, moving on. Kernanos on the duo side of the map. Going to be seeing a buff here to a couple.
he needed a
abilities.
buff.
Bramble Blast and the Wild Hunt.
And there was
both
so much
getting some
better
buffs
than
here.
him.
The main thing was just Bramble Blast as an ability. Its scaling was really, really like low, and there's some initial damage adjustments as well that are on here. But it just was a low damaging ability, and so we're bringing that up some to help make sure that it fits more in line with other abilities, because you're not really going to have most characters be in it for a very long time. So just adjustments there, and then the Wild Hunt, the slow, just give more control to the team fight when you actually cast that onto a team fight.
All right.
Got to be careful with this god. We know he can run away with it.
Yep.
True. Yeah.
Baby steps.
All right. Next up, Chalk going to be seeing a buff on the passive. This one's a cool one.
Yeah, this is a quality of life increase, kind of the way we always wanted to.
The way it should have
The way
been.
it should have
Yeah.
been, the way we intended to, just the way, we're prototyping things, getting things in for
funny.
everyone. This,
The tech wasn't there yet.
there you go. The tech point literally wasn't there. So
every now and then we are restricted by that.
yeah, so now the abilities, they're not refunding the mana, they always just cost no mana.
Easy and simple
funny.
enough. Who's next up on the god list? Loki is up next. Loki getting a buff here. Vanish and Assassinate.
no.
Seeing a little bit of love.
Don't do
Pretty
that.
substantial scaling damage buff here.
Oh no, they put a
tech,
cripple
yeah.
in the game now.
Yeah, and
no,
that's partially
the
to
tech
offset
exists.
strength nerf that he was receiving, but also just
No!
in its own right.
Right.
And then talk
And
about
then
tech
we
didn't
just
have,
didn't have the cripple CC.
Yeah.
Just
Yep.
didn't. The CC as a concept didn't exist in
Yeah.
the last alpha.
I
So
think-
now we added it back.
I think this one might have even said it crippled because we were getting ready for it in Alpha Weekend 1, but it
yeah.
wasn't actually doing that effect. Well, now it's
I'm pretty
actually.
sure I took that out of the text for Alpha 1, but like people were still wondering why it was gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was just not ready yet.
Yep.
So Loki did seem like he needed some buffs a little bit at least. Anyway, make sure he could still burst people
That's
down.
scary.
I think you really have to play super
That's a
evasive tactics
spooky,
Loki right
scary
now
skeleton.
to do the best, which is good. We don't just want him free one-shotting people.
So we're going Loki with Helm of Darkness, just double invis.
I mean,
Double stealth.
sure. Yeah, he doesn't get much up from the int from it.
No, but it still could be fun.
Your damage
Scales his
debuff.
debuff, yeah.
Yeah, on the 2. I've been cooking a little int
Okay.
Loki build in my head a little bit.
Yeah, with Poly.
It's not going to be good.
Poly
It's
and
going to be
Hydras?
explicitly bad, actually.
It's funny because if you go play Smite 1 and build tank Loki, people will focus you because I think they're just so ingrained to focus
Yeah.
Loki that you're
Yep.
actually an effective tank.
That is true. That is
It's
true.
really funny.
He's kind of like
I've
an
tried a lot of
inherent top.
Bruiser Loki and Smite too as well. It could work.
Yeah.
It could work.
It could.
But yeah, some buffs for this guy.
Technically a buff
Staying in the
because it
Norse
didn't
realms,
exist, man.
Odin going to be getting a buff to Gungnir's Might.
This is a fun story.
Tell us, AJ. Tell us the story.
So we made Smite 2 Odin, and then Smite 1 changed Smite 1 Odin after we had made Smite 2 Odin. And there was communication and discussion on that, and there was a lot of those effects were transferred over. But the timing one, I mean, should have been more obvious to us. Like people only had to play with the faster timings for like a day before they were like, what the hell is wrong with this ability? It was using the old timings. So we sped this up to use the current Smite 1 reworked buffed timings
Yep.
that people are expecting.
Cool. All right, last up for just
They
overall
copy-pasted the
god
code at the wrong
balance,
time.
and I feel like I have to throw to aggro.
Yeah.
It's Zeus getting a buff here. What's happening with Zeus?
Oh,
Yeah,
no,
Zeus
don't
felt
do
really
that.
good. I thought he was one of the more interesting topics of discussion from Alpha Weekend 1 because when we talked about his new AO2,
thought he was kinda busted.
everyone was like, oh, he's going to be terrible. He doesn't have a chain lightning target, all that kind of stuff. And then slowly, like, Thursday night, it was like, yeah, Zeus is definitely worse. Then Friday, it was like, yeah, he's not that bad. And then Saturday, it was like, yo, Zeus is OP now,
Yeah.
man. Like, I thought that kind of transformation was funny, but we still felt like his
Zeus was
his
OP
int build
as
was a
soon as
little
you
bit
realize
underwhelming,
that he's
specifically on the
actually not a
ultimate,
mage
so
anymore.
just giving that a little
He's
bit
a
of
crit
scaling,
auto
and,
attacker.
the real
That's
buff
when he
here is
became
Staff of
OP.
Mirrodin being added.
yeah.
Because
Once
Detonate.
that
you
clicked.
don't remove detonate charges anymore whenever you 3, so you get to you get to have some fun.
Why'd you tell the entire
Oh,
internet?
Because I'm gonna do it
No.
to someone,
The
and I want them
Mirrodin
to
3?
report me for it.
It is important
Double
to mention that
detonate
Agra
Mirrodin
did say
3?
like int Zeus.
Yes.
The
Yes.
in-hand Zeus was very, very powerful.
Yes, it
He's
was.
essentially getting double hit by that strength adjustment because his passive augments your in-hand damage, and so it's augmenting the nerf from the strength removal. So
Right.
So
Strength
adjustments
Zeus
there.
was really strong.
Yeah, Strength Zeus was quite
I
good.
was playing some Smite 1 Zeus the other day, and not having that stun made me really sad.
Yeah, and you're like, oh no, I've got this training wheel for my 2. It's so lame. It takes all the excitement out of my character. Yeah, I feel the same way.
Oh, man. All right, well, let's talk about new gods in Alpha
Aggro
Weekend
out
2.
here taking
we've
shots
already
at
spoiled
Smite
them a
1.
little
It's like,
bit.
yeah, man,
Soul
Smite
and
1 kinda
Hades
sucks.
being added to Alpha Weekend 2 here. So first of all, why Soul and Hades? What's going on?
Yeah, why is Soul and Hades?
I talked about this a little
I
bit
actually
on the
do wanna know
Insight
why.
show last show, but there's a lot of different parts and pieces to the formula that helps us decide which gods are going to come out next in Smite 2. It's not an easy decision. It's not an easy process. There are pivots as we go sometimes based on how certain characters' new tech, new art comes in. We are doing a lot of shifting. We're working on a lot of gods at once, very rapidly. So at some cases it might seem like there's like a perfect pattern to it, and in other cases it might be unique. It might be a little puzzling. We like the fact that there's not like a strict repetitive pattern. That tends to get really boring, so we're gonna try to intentionally throw some curveballs in there. A lot of people were discussing about like, what more magical gods all of a sudden. It's just like, yeah, surprise.
Why not? Yeah.
Nobody expected that. These two are also just super popular and also bring some more unique archetypes. I think like Soul being
you have to keep in mind they're both very popular gods. This means they're both gods that
ADC.
skins work well for.
Zeus
and they
towards
both
that,
have a
but,
lot
like,
of
Soul
skins.
already was that, and Strength Soul is gonna pop off.
Soul will be
Hades
interesting
is
not
a
having
super
to be
flexible character that can do a lot of different things, and we were just really excited to. We'll talk about it more when we show.
Yeah, let's go in game. Let's check out Soul first.
We felt like Hades just had some really awesome design
both multiple
potential,
role type gods.
So really quick to kind of go over the main features for Soul. Obviously, with strength in the game now, she can use that to build crit. She can use that to augment her basic attack. So if she wants to really focus on that playstyle, she can. And we did a few key changes to her kit to try and support that better. So, for example, her passive actually gives her strength as well as intelligence, where before in Smite 1 it just gave magical power. So her passive will augment your hands very directly. The second thing was we added some extra ways to generate heat, most notably the ultimate. The big thing there is now your ultimate, as you hit targets, will give heat. Cool. So your ultimate in a pure in-hand build where you're building a lot of strength might feel underwhelming in the sense of like raw damage, but still a lot of good control, and it can immediately put you to full heat, so you can just start wailing with your auto attacks. So it's a really powerful tool that way.
Nice.
For the more int-focused side of things, we want to make sure that she's a magical carry, but she also is a AoE mage. She has a lot of AoE abilities, and so we wanted to highlight that for when you go that int playstyle. So the first major noticeable change is you have your 1, and it gives you a ton of heat, it heals you, and it does damage in AoE. But when you're at full heat, it doesn't necessarily have as much use case anymore because it's mainly a builder. But now,
cool freaking animation on passive
area.
So this scales linearly.
That animation
with
is
the heat
sick
you currently have.
on the passive when it's stacked.
The more heat you have, the bigger your AO1 is.
And you can see if I cast it once here, it's the size. If I cast it twice, that size. And then full size is a little bit bigger than that because that's the full strength.
That's cool.
And you can even see the targeter. It will dynamically adjust. I got to work on this. I'm just going to show it off because I like it. Look at that. It's in real time.
How did you do that?
Crazy.
That is insane.
Insane. So your 1 has extra use cases. You can drop this in the middle of a team fight and cover a wide area and threaten people.
We have the technology, SpongeBob!
Keep people inside of it. It's just really hard to when it was this size before.
That was sick.
Your 3 also has some new spline tech going on with it. So the trail is, instead of a whole bunch of deployables, is actual spline.
Whoa,
and you can see that explosion effect. It's there in Smite 1. It used to do damage in Smite 1 when it exploded. We brought that back. So now people are on the trail to explode. And it explodes in a relatively large area. So if people are trying to chase you, they have to respect the trail a bit more now.
Respect her.
No stun, though.
We can remake her!
Zeus already cashed in our bringing the
Right,
Yeah. And he deserved it more, Soul players. I don't want to hear it.
And you can see there.
Damn!
I immediately got to full heat.
That solo is so cool!
The ultimate works very similarly. The paint targeter.
It's like artillery shells coming in, bro.
Bring Soul in the games. We have a new target type into support.
Saving Private Soul out here.
Major Soul changes. If you want to play that int mage style, you have that available to you with that extra AoE from your 1 and the explosion of your 3. Or if you want to play that in-hand style, that carry style, you can play that as pure intelligence, and you will do quite a bit of damage. And if you want to take it to the next level, you can start throwing in Deathbringer. You can start throwing high strength items in there. You could go like a
Crit
strength
Soul
CDR
might be
and splash
gnarly.
like 2 CDR builds, so you're just throwing abilities all over the place. A lot of flexibility here.
With her
Soul
passive,
was,
stacking crit
a
on
really
top of that
popular
could be
character, really
insane.
successful character. Doesn't have as many changes as we've had on some other characters, but I think these changes are going to go really well for her playstyle and really supporting the things that she's going to want to do in Smite 2.
Yeah, they're able to pressure down those towers so quickly. I mean, even though we nerfed the gold from them a little bit, they still give a lot of gold. And she is the premier tier 1 tower.
Never change
right?
Yep.
You get
that
any lane
when
lead,
you
should be
crit
able to shred that down,
pop up. That thing right there, I love that little crit. Bam!
Yeah, I think she's one of the characters that benefits
That's final
from
artwork. I love
the
that.
item store changes the most, and I don't think I have any idea what her best build truly is, and that's like fun and exciting to me. Who knows?
There's a couple other notes about Soul we should touch on before we move on.
Yeah, so just a few things. We had our flash test, and some people gave feedback about Soul. Obviously, alpha, things are work in progress at times. One thing that we especially know is the hair. Her hair and her character model have a lot of different treatments going along with it. Supporting this type of character's material work and particle work is a big endeavor, and we know that we have some things that we still want to be doing to different aspects of her character model. So be on the lookout for those as we go forward. It doesn't mean we're necessarily done here, but we do see that feedback. And of course, as we go into the alpha weekend, give us your feedback. Don't assume anything is final or is temporary. Just give us the feedback as you see it, as you feel it, as you're playing out the game, and then we'll take that and obviously adjust accordingly.
I'm watching chat here, so some quick clarifications is that yes, we are recommending you try full strength and crit soul, but that will still deal all magical damage.
Correct.
Yes.
All of her abilities deal magical damage. Those things are not tied. And then we have, for additional clarity, if you could demo for me, the new basic attack tooltip section. If you use Alt to hover next to your god avatar, you can see right there that it will deal magical damage. You can see the magical symbol, and you can get a description on the scaling, the damage dealt, the heat, and the projectile rules.
Very cool.
Correct.
So then if you also look over the rest of her kit, you'll see that does magic damage as well. But I mean, the basic attacks is one that I understand that it's taking people some time to get used to.
Yeah.
So that little symbol down there will be for every god to help you remember what type of basic attack, help you learn what type of basic attack damage they're doing, and it'll clarify some of the melee and projectile rules
Strength
that you might not even know after playing Smite 1 for a long time.
Yeah, it's
are
just funny
not
you're absolutely
innately
right. You know, we
tied
almost
to
get ahead of
physical
ourselves.
and magical.
Soul will still
It's
do
the hardest thing about
well
Smite
and
2 to wrap your
perform
head
well
around.
with an enhanced magical ability build, whatever you may want to do.
Those are
with
not
skill, with
the same
intelligence.
thing.
But we just like talking about the strength stuff and crit because that's the new exciting stuff that you're really going to play with, and the difference between Smite 1 and Smite 2. If you want to go in style build, if you want to build her like a true ability damage mage, you absolutely can do that.
Build magical protections against her, regardless of her build.
And I was gonna say it's gonna be a little weird to build crit items and then not executioner, but you don't want executioner because that gives you physical penetration. You still want to buy a magical penetration item, and you're still getting benefit from that intelligence that you're getting on it. But a bunch, 5 strength items and a magical penetration item is going to look odd at first, but
Plus, a splash of int, even in the full strength builds, feels very good just to take up her abilities a little bit more. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you're still contributing to your basic attacks, so you still get scaling on that.
Honestly, I really actually want to, like, in the middle of like a giant gold fury fire giant fight, I want to go like a pure int and just go double one.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna just
My God, you would cook them.
area.
Yeah.
No,
You would
gods
cook
can do
Or you could
physical
staff of merit
and
in
magical
3,
damage.
they're like, all right, we're gonna get her, and then you just 3 again instantly.
They
Like, a lot
can
of
do
mid-soul
both.
over Smite 1's lifetime, like
Oh, yeah.
meta by far. So this
Not
character is
every
really
god is
flexible in that
limited
regard,
to
which is
being
great for
physical
our goals
or
in Smite 2.
magical.
Yep.
Some are
Right, the
basically
next
all
one,
physical
Hades.
or all magical.
King
Some
of
are
the
basically all
Underworld,
strength
making his way to
or all
Smite
in
2.
scaling.
He's got some spicy
But
changes
you
here.
have the
Very exciting
possibilities
I know.
change.
for all
one
of those
our
combos.
absolute favorites so far.
This one was wild.
Yeah.
Like, I know when it was pitched and it's just like, oh.
Yeah.
But it works so well for what the god needs, and
Feels
it has
great.
the right
Yeah.
level of balance, like knobs we can use to tune it. So
I do need to relaunch the game, but I can talk about it while I'm working.
Yeah.
okay.
So the Hades is always kind of struggled between being
spicy
like
meatball.
this first character. Or
Hades
this
could use an
frontliner.
ability
I
in
was
his
never
ulti.
really good at either, and we had to do a lot of things like give him like 200 protections in his ult so that he doesn't immediately die because he needs to be able to build pure magical power and be able to survive. And we think that in Smite 2, especially with a lot of our characters, we're looking to make sure that their kit really gives you some insight into what they're supposed to be doing. And Hades' kit really does scream this frontline character. And so we wanted to support that in a few different ways. Obviously, if you want to play in burst,
Does that
you
mean
can
if
still try
somebody
that.
dashes
Still gonna
away,
be
you can
good.
dash on top of them
But
and they're
we are
still
leaning
stuck in the
more
Hades
into that
ult? Because
style
that is
of he is a frontline
horrifying.
mage. He's the mage that you bring so that you can engage with
Horrifying.
your team and just start fighting. So the first one is going to be around his 3. And if you've played 80s, you know the struggle of trying to heal your teammates with it.
You do.
They will do everything in their power to not stand near it so that you can't get a heal on them. No more. Now what happens is when you detonate, it basically figures out how many detonates you're going to hit, because it actually cascades and hits people based off their blight explosions. It figures that out, and then Hades heals himself for that immediately, but then shoots off a healing projectile to all nearby allies around himself, healing them for that amount. So now they just have to be around you. They don't have to be around your detonate target, which immediately frees up, makes it a lot easier for your team to actually engage with this. They still might snipe your minions, unfortunately. Can't fix that. But we can make it so that you can heal your teammates more effectively. So that immediately gives him a niche for your team composition. Gives him a really strong niche.
Yep.
Now, the bigger thing is his ultimate. Like I mentioned before, it was kind of this ultimate that left you as almost like a sitting duck at some points. We want to give it some more control so you can decide what you want to do with it and really serve that frontline role when you bring it to your team.
That's so scary.
So his ultimate now, when you activate it, I do need to focus on actually getting into the game.
I want to see Pawn. Hurry.
I couldn't. The ultimate now lets you refire your 1, 2, or 3. It basically immediately resets the cooldown of it so you can use them. And then your 1, 2, or 3 gets a bonus effect. Your 1 will let you dash, like you use your 1, and restart your ultimate for a fixed duration at that location. So you ult, people try and escape. No, you're chasing after them. You're going to try and capture them again for a smaller window of time. Your 2,
It's pretty good.
You can even blink this if you haven't damaged anybody.
True.
You can
Pretty hard.
If you completely whiff your ult, instead of being embarrassed, you can blink, or you can use your 1 to fix it.
Or both.
Yep.
You also have your 2, which is a giant silence cone. And it'll basically as a half area. So if you have people trapped there and you just want to keep them trapped there, keep them from fleeing, control the whole area, you can 2 to make sure they stay there. Or you can detonate and trigger a big AoE in the whole ult radius that also triggers all the other effects of it. So it detonates targets. It also shoots out the healing, as mentioned before. So you have this essentially extra +1 that you get to bring directly to a team fight. If you catch a whole bunch of people in there, you can focus on damage, control, or repositioning. And that just is a lot of flexibility for this character.
Oh,
He's
baby.
nuts. He's really good. He's
outplay
feels so
potential.
much like I'm a longtime Hades mid lover. I love playing Hades mid. My support always shows up to my wave, even when they're not going to do anything, except when they need to get healed, and then they're going to run away from me.
Should be a game now.
It's so insane. Like the AO3 change feels incredible, and then when you get to chase an on her who leaps with your ult, you're like,
Oh my God.
this is unbelievable.
There
That's
we go.
so
You can see
horrifying.
here, I'm just going to showcase the main new aspects. The rest of Hades, the blight interactions, the rules surrounding blight interactions and consumption.
Hades
are all the
actually
same as
looks
Smite
kinda
1.
dope.
The main changes are with the 3 and the ultimate.
That model
And so
looks
you can
much
see here,
better
if I
in Smite
detonate,
2.
You can see the nice healing.
Ah,
Ooh.
nice.
But you
He's
can
had
get
a lot of visual touch-ups too.
Yeah,
Yes,
he's had a whole of the effect.
He's a very old god. And although we love his themes and his style, but the particle effects especially are a huge, change.
Yeah. Just a really nice effect. And you can kind of get an
That's
idea of
cool
the range
looking.
here with how that Odin's being healed.
And the 3 is significantly faster
Yes,
than it used to be.
Yes, the 3 is a lot faster.
is
It was
way
actually kind of wild
faster.
after we made the adjustment. I didn't think I took that much time off of it, but I went back and played Smite 1 again. I was like, oh my gosh, this is really, really slow.
All my damage Hades lovers out there like me, this is big for us for sure.
And also to push him into that front line role, we've also lowered the cooldown of the 3, so it's a more consistent source of pressure and healing that you get to bring. So if you build tanky CDR with a little bit of int, it's a pretty effective build and just consistent pressure that you can bring to your team.
Yep.
Now to showcase the ult stuff, we got your ult. It does the things you expect. It vortexes targets, but you can see all my icons there turned that kind of different color. So if I ult and I won, we restart over here.
There we go.
I ult and we 2. You can see the targeter doesn't quite match. We're working on fixing that, but you can see that it has that big hazard.
I saw it.
Yeah.
So you can immediately silence and fear that whole area. Or, of course, you can ult, and because everyone's blinded, you now detonate, and you heal your whole team for 240.
Oh my
What is
god.
that?
Is this better than letting him dance in his ultimate?
No.
We should
but-
still let him do that.
Yeah.
Get in the comments.
Yeah, and it has to cripple guys, right?
Right,
Like that's the classic.
I feel like we even just like went into the discussion like, what if Hades could move in his ult? And then we were just like, wait a second, he kind of can with his 1 now.
It's really good.
Yes.
He's very good.
Oh,
It's just
yeah.
the flexibility that allows. I just remember, playtesting for one of the first times, and it was like, okay, I need to get to that team fight, but my 1 isn't up, so I'm actually going to ulti 2-1 to get closer, and then I got was able to get the team fight in time. Like that feels good.
Yeah. By the way, Staff of Mirrodin, yeah, you can cook 3 jumps.
Oh my god, that's true.
No, there is no one
one
far
on
enough from you.
No, you get a 1 and then a 1 and then an alt 1.
Yeah.
Can you get an alt 1 and an alt 1?
No, you can only do one, Mirrodin 1, regular 1.
They're separate ability
alt 1.
cooldowns, so it actually would work that way.
It would.
It wouldn't work. That way.
Okay.
It wouldn't.
Yeah, you can only get 4 too many, guys. Come
know.
on, no way we can balance that.
Mirrodin specifically only works on your ability 1, 2, or 3. These are like special hidden hit secret abilities.
What
that are
about-
not tagged as
what about
ability
breastplate?
1?
They would affect your cooldowns that are behind the scenes.
Oh, okay.
Like in the same way that like how like if you had like Chronos Pet, it affects her other abilities behind, like their abilities being tracked behind the scenes.
Unless.
We could.
Yeah, let us know if you find a way to double alt ability because we don't want that to happen.
Or do
It should unequip them literally, so it should be impossible. But I've been wrong.
Should be.
Should be
Yeah,
impossible.
Hades, super iconic god to Smite. So excited to have him back.
Yeah. All right. He's back and better than ever.
Hell yeah,
Awesome.
brother.
A good example of being able to do like changes that were hard to do,
I love that fear symbol with the little skull. It's actually
giving
fun.
us a new context, a new ability to do these.
And he wiggles so well.
Yeah, he does.
Look at that wiggle.
He's the wiggle king.
The wiggle, yeah. The
Oh, yeah,
cloth
wiggle.
physics on full display here.
Wiggle, wiggle.
Potentially too much, but you know that's something we're still working.
All right, Pon, I'm getting nauseous, please.
Right? Yes.
It was skirt twirls. It's
Yeah,
great.
I saw that. It was cool.
Ballerina Hades skin
man.
coming up soon.
Sweet. Well, Soul and Hades headed to everyone during
Everyone.
our Alpha Weekend 2 starting tomorrow. And I believe that's just about all that we've got for the show today. But I do have a couple of reminders, so don't turn away just yet. Wanted to remind people first, most importantly, how does the Alpha Weekend work? How can you play? If you want guaranteed
You can go to our
access
Nexus
second
store
Alpha Weekend that
and
kicks
you
off
buy the
tomorrow,
Founders
be sure
Pack
to
through our
purchase
Nexus
Founders
store.
Edition. If you
That's how you
can't
participate.
purchase the Founders Edition right now, be sure to register on our website or via Steam through the Steam playtest functionality. I've heard through the grapevine that we're going to be sending out a lot of invites.
Or you show up tomorrow.
This weekend, so be sure that
And you watch the
got your
stream.
Founders Editions queued up. Servers are going to be available for 36 to 72 hours. We're going to kick off tentatively at 8 p.m. tomorrow night, unless Travis wants to crash and press the button early. So
8
keep an eye on
p.m.
that.
is a
And I've
little
heard
bit
that
late
we're
for
actually
this
going to
twitchy
be
boy.
Extending the test. It's going to end Sunday at 8 p.m. So a few more hours of Smite 2 action this weekend for those who are going to hop in and play. For those who've got their cross-gen content that
I'm
want
more
to
of
make sure
like,
that they've got it
you
unlocked
know,
in Smite 2,
like
be sure that you've
1
got
p.m.
your accounts
EST
linked
kind
in
of
Smite
guy,
1 via the
you
Divine
know?
Legacy page. That way
Like
you've got all your
noon,
Smite
like
1
noon,
cross-gen skins available
like that's
to you
like
in
a
Smite
that's a
2.
nice round
And then last
number,
but not least,
you know,
providing
noon.
feedback and
Like we
reporting buzz.
love that.
Join our official Discord
You know?
server.
Sounds so good. Flows right off.
Discord.gg/Smite game. We've got a bunch of channels in there for you to find people to play with, but also for you to provide your feedback. Our bug report form is going to be linked in there as well. So if you run into any issues during Alpha Weekend 2, hit up that bug report form and let us know.
Yeah,
what,
looks like I'm
what
streaming
issues you're
all
running
weekend
into.
now.
But overall, we're
Looks
just
like
super
we're
excited
streaming
for everyone to
Saturday
hop
and
in
Sunday.
and make their way into Smite 2 during this Alpha Weekend.
So-
and we're looking forward to hearing what everyone thinks about all the updates that have gone into
The
game.
alpha's going through Sunday. I guess we're
just getting
streaming through
started.
Sunday.
We're
Huh?
just getting started.
We're just getting started.
Wait, what? Who?
Oh, where did I come from? Hi,
Where'd you come from?
I'm Magic.
Andy, what are you doing
The
here?
set got a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, in my opinion, at least. Nice to see you all at home. Yeah, esports.
What do we got
gonna
going on with esports this
Steal the weekend. This weekend we have an esports tournament going on. If you don't realize, make sure if you signed up and you got access to Smite 2, you can play as part of this weekend. Make sure you join the official Smite 2 esports Discord, and you can use that QR code there to help you on the way, or just check out our social media. But yeah, we've got Smite 2 Alpha this weekend. We're actually going to do 2 tournaments, 1 NA and 1 EU. I am scared. How are you devs feeling about it?
Excited.
Yeah?
Go great.
I'm ready for Invade meta. I'm ready for Mirrodin meta.
Yeah, we can
All
play,
the
right?
things.
I'm ready for some really weird team names as usual. That's what I'm looking for.
We have our GMs right?
But I will say the Invade meta is definitely something I'm interested in too, because a lot of people have been talking about that.
I know, right? It's gonna be.
I'm just interested to see what is actually going to win.
And to be clear,
Is it going to be pure skill? Just the best players we know doing whatever they want? Is
I
it
don't
going to
know.
be some
Should be pure
niche
chaos.
strategy?
You know?
Yeah,
Is it
well-
going to be the same old 5-player comps that we saw from Smite 1. It really could be anything.
It's gonna be interesting. I saw Solar Trolls team, Cowabunga. That team looks insane.
Definitely. I mean, on a paper, when you look at that team, you're like, oh man, for Smite 1, great. But can they do it in Smite 2?
I think we're going to see some team come out of nowhere and do really well. It might not win at all, but I think we're going to see at least some, just some hometown heroes show up.
But guys, I got more news for you.
Wait, what?
More news. More than that. We actually have some esports news for you today. We are prepared to announce where our first live LAN is going to be located. Should we do it?
Smite 2
Let's
LAN.
do it, yeah.
Smite 2 LAN, to be clear.
Yeah.
Run the video, boys.
Okay, cool.
It's finally time to give you all an esports.
Hindu, you're right in my ear.
We're excited to announce our first attended live esports event of Smite 2 will be at the HyperX Arena in Las Vegas, January 17th to 19th.
Whoa. We're going to Vegas!
Qualifications for the event will begin during the fall of 2024, so start forming your teams and preparing for the competition. Make sure you check out the Smite 2 Esports website and Discord to stay updated on the latest information regarding the qualification path. Tickets for the Las Vegas event will go on sale later on this year. Head over to Smite Esports website and make sure you register your interest in attending the event to get further information the moment it becomes available. We'll see you all in Las Vegas.
Dope. HyperX Arena.
We're going to Vegas, baby.
All right.
Are we not already in Vegas? I was.
Oh yeah, I know, right?
I mean, to be honest, this has been there all day today, and I don't know if people have even noticed the poker chips on the table there.
Oh.
On top of that, I've been tweeting out.
Oh, okay.
I've been tweeting out consistently little teasers of Vegas stuff randomly. Even my truck simulator, if you check that out, if you notice, I was actually in Vegas.
Really?
I'm a genius, but nobody noticed. A couple of updates though. Obviously, new website, smiteesports.com. We don't have a pro league currently, so I'd rather as default to smiteesports.com. Head over there /Vegas for more information. Obviously, it's early days in a weird way, but we're nearly in June, guys.
I know, right?
Oh my God.
We've got to look towards the future. Obviously, the game's in active development. We want to showcase that we are active for Smite 2 Esports, and we will be doing the first live event in January. Obviously, as part of the keynote, we did mention we are still looking at a European event, which will be into next year later on, and continuing to bring you guys majors throughout the year. Obviously, this event too, just to mention, a bit smaller in scale than a high-res expo level, just because it's a bit of a smaller venue, but also it's not ready for a world championship yet. The game's not even out yet.
That's right.
But I expect we will get to that stage probably later on into next year. So we're super excited to announce to you all.
Cool.
We'll have more information to come. We are going to Vegas. Tickets will go on sale later on this year. And as the game and the developers continue to work on the game, we'll give you an idea of the timeline of the qualification path to get to Vegas for all the regions involved.
That's right. In the meantime, get your teams together, start plotting.
Pretty much.
Participate in these Alpha Weekend tournaments because they've got a prize pool to them, right?
There is.
$2,500.
Yeah, not a huge amount, but it's an alpha. So, we're going to play. A lot of people are going, where's esports? Then there's another group of people going, this is too early for esports. And I sit in the middle of those.
It's never too early for
right? Yeah.
In some regards, no. So
for esports.
We're going to have fun this weekend. We'll see how it goes, and hopefully we'll just keep bringing you more and more esports as time goes on.
Very exciting. Thank you. I mean, Smite 2 and Hi-Res Studios, our games are just entwined with esports at the core level. A lot of the changes of Smite 2 are designed to continue to push the competitive nature of the game. Just can't wait to actually see it happening on the new game. This weekend already.
It's gonna be
already.
I can't wait. I'm going to be
Future
glued.
Alpha weekend.
They want me to announce Vegas this weekend for this week, and also do the alpha. And I'm like, oh my god, this week is going crazy.
Yep.
Like the whole qualifying trail for Vegas is going to be
correct.
I mean, I don't even know what it is, but I'm excited for it.
I'll give you some spoilers on the qualification stuff. We're definitely going to be messing around with a few formats we've not done before, just to see how they go through the first phase. And if there's a window where the game is ready a little bit earlier, we will throw on additional tournaments, not just be waiting for January, but I can't announce that just yet. Until these guys feel comfortable in the game, and we all feel good about the game.
Well, we'll learn a lot this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
All being well.
And if not, we'll just make changes and keep working, right? That's what we do.
I will say it's really weird being on the other side of this coin from being hosting these shows.
Right, yeah.
To coming on with announcements and information. I'm like, God, I've got to do
just
that.
get to be the special
That's really
guest
weird.
with all the good news at the end of the show, right?
Yeah. If I'm not here, there's no good news. Is that what you're saying there, everyone?
No.
I can't give you esports news every patch, but maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe.
We might have to fix that.
We'll see.
We've got to have something.
Okay.
All right, we'll make it work.
I agree.
All right. Well, you heard it here first, Smite fans. We are going to Vegas for the Smite 2 Founder Series in January. Go to smiteesports.com/Vegas. Pre-register for those tickets. That way you stay up to date. But we've got the Smite 2 Alpha Weekend 2 kicking off tomorrow. We've got a community tournament that's happening this weekend.
Yep.
Smite game is going to be on and popping for the next few days. So make sure that you stay tuned to everything. Stay tuned to Smite Pro on X. Stay tuned to Smite Game on all of our different social media channels for all the updates as we head into Alpha Weekend 2. But until then, we'll have a Dev Insight show tomorrow at 1 p.m. Hang out with the design team a little bit more. Get those questions ready. I'm sure they'll be more than happy to explain.
We got some juicy topics to dig into already, so
it's gonna be
excited
awesome.
to see what people might want to ask us in addition.
Sweet. Well, I think that's it for it.
Well, that got me very excited for many things regarding Smite 2. That was a fantastic patch. That patch note show was as good as all of the Smite 1 patch note shows have been bad this year. So, very good. 2 new gods is nice. UI reworks is nice. New items and item reworks is nice. Pacing of the game stuff is nice. A lot of good stuff that they've gotten done in the last month. So very excited about the progress that they've made in the last month and the type of features that they're getting added to the game. I expect at that rate that there's going to be at least 2 more alphas, would be my guess. If this is the pace that they're at, I would say that this being Alpha 2, we're probably going to get an Alpha 3 and then an Alpha 4. And then I imagine that there wouldn't be an Alpha 5. That would probably be the Beta 1 type situation if this is the pace that development is going. But very excited for Smite 2, which we will now, I guess it's going to be open through Sunday. I guess enough people complained that the servers went down on Saturday night instead of Sunday night. So we are going to be playing tomorrow when it goes live. So no live stream tomorrow morning at the normal time. Our normal time to go live is going to be whenever Travis hits the go live button, which is scheduled for 8 p.m. Eastern, but he's going to do us morning boys a solid, and he's going to actually hit that button closer to like 1 p.m. EST, so that way we can, grind all day instead of all night. He's going to do us a solid. And then we'll be streaming all day Friday, and then Saturday we'll be doing more Smite 2. We're also going to be doing a little bit of Predecessor on Saturday as well, which should be some fun. And then if the servers are going to be up through Sunday, we're probably going to be streaming Smite 2 on Sunday as well. So I guess we're just streaming every single day this week. So thank you guys for coming out to the stream today. Very much looking forward to this next Smite 2 Alpha and all the things that we can break in the game and the new items that we can try and all the noobs that we can crush. Big flexes for each and every one of you. I will see you guys all bright and early tomorrow afternoon for some Smite 2 Alpha. And as always, folks, have a twitching day, y'all. Thank you for supporting the Twitchiest community. If you'd like to see more videos, make sure you subscribe to the channel and always hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of the upcoming videos. Thank you for all your support and have a twitching day, y'all.